What's going on, world? We are back. Sports Moods. As always, I'm C. Moody here with
D. Moody.
We're here to, as always, talk about football, NCAA, WWE, in other sports, baseball playoffs, and get into our predictions. Let's go. What's going on, guys? We are back. Sports Moods. 2 Moodies.
1 Duty.
Sports. As always, we like to start off our show by recapping what happened in this past week in sports. And we always started off with good old NFL football. And also, as well, me and D. Moody go back and forth on tallying up who knows what about football and trying to see who, as I called it on Instagram, the guru of the week. And we're going to start getting into these games. The first one is D. Moody's team, the New England Patriots against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Both of us called it on that one. The Pats coming out with the win, 19-14. Tom Brady, as always, has a great game. He went 30 for 40, 303 yards with 1 touchdown, in spite of having 1 interception. How do you feel about this?
It wasn't a great game for me. Statistically, you look at his numbers and you see, it's typical Tom Brady. But he did get sacked a lot in that game. He got hit a lot. The offensive line had a lot of trouble with keeping him protected throughout the game. I thought Tampa Bay's defense came in with a really good game plan. They did a good job of really not allowing New England to really get a lot going offensively. Usually came into this game scoring about 33 points a game, and just to hold them to 19 was actually pretty good.
Yeah.
But it was kind of like the offense had been playing so well to start the season, but this is probably one of the worst games they've had all year, probably back to the Kansas City game where they really couldn't get a lot of stuff going. But then the defense really stepped up. But I don't know if that was more of Jameis Winston just having an off game, or was it more of the game plan of the Patriots? Because really, late it came on strong. Jameis Winston started to come on really strong late in the end of the game.
Yeah.
But then their field goal kicker really hurt him too, because he missed, I think, 3 field goals in that game. So you
Right.
You take those away, those are makes, then we could be having a different conversation here. But Brady still really did some things with what he had. Chris Hogan had a good game. I'm trying to think of Cooks had a good game as well. He had some nice catches in there. So did Amendola. He did some good things. But it was just, to me, on a short week, I kind of expected that kind of performance from the Patriots on a short week. What did you think about it?
Yeah, definitely. Going against both teams, they were pretty evenly matched, kind of, and that's kind of hard to say looking at how we would publicly view the Patriots versus the Buccaneers. Mm-hmm. The total yards between the two, New England had 402 yards, and Tampa Bay had 409 yards. Yep. So really it was kind of, like you said, there was an intertwine between offense, maybe better defense. It was just, or struggles on both offenses, and the defense is at least doing their part. Because Jameis Winston, props to him, he actually had a decent game, 26 for 46 for 334 yards and 1 touchdown. So even in a losing effort, Jameis Winston is continuing to show his abilities and grow into more of the NFL caliber quarterback that we expect him to be. So
It still was came all the way down to the last play of the game, where the Patriots kind of had to, keep them out of the end zone. So we had some uncharacteristic things happen in the game, but I think right before the end of the half, they had like 2 back-to-back roughing the passer penalties,
right,
which put Tampa Bay in range for a field goal, which was missed. But I mean, Nick Folk, really one of the better kickers in the league, had a struggle of a night.
He did.
Doug Martin did return back for Tampa Bay. He had a good first half there in his first game of the season, coming back from his suspension. So New England basically survived this game. So,
yeah.
I mean, there's going to be games in the NFL that you have to just find a way to win. You're not going to play your best every week. And so New England's still trying to figure out what kind of team they're going to be this year. But it wasn't a convincing win for me, but I'm glad we did get the win given the fact that we just came off a tough loss to Carolina. So glad to be back in the win column.
A win, man.
Yeah.
And it also reminded me, I was like thinking about all of the missed field goals by Tampa. You almost forget what a veteran kicker Nick Folk was.
Mm-hmm.
Just that
this is not like a rookie,
right? This is somebody who's
been
been in the league for some time. Actually made key kicks. I think during his time with the Eagles. Mm-hmm. That was his most memorable. If that was his only team, I don't know. I'm not sure. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so for him to kind of just really have a bad performance
with the Jets for a while too. So
yeah. But this isn't the only bad performance by a veteran player this week. So
we'll get into that for sure.
Definitely, man. So, like I said, Pats pulled it out 19-14. Both of us did go with that. Go with the Pats. The next game I'm gonna bring up, Seattle Seahawks versus my team, the LA Rams, and of course I lost this round because I was pretty confident in my Rams because of the history in the last couple of years against the Seahawks. But they did pull it out, and D. Moody called it. 16-10 Seahawks. Russell Wilson had a good game. 24 for 37, 198 yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 interception. Jimmy Graham, 6 receptions, 37 yards, but 1 touchdown. And for them to pull out that win, looking at the total yards between the two, Seattle only had 241 yards, while LA had 375. Mm-hmm. So that was really disappointing for me, especially knowing that really the Rams only scored in the second quarter of this game. And so Jared Goff did have a good game, he had good passing yards, 288, but he threw two interceptions, and pretty much you throw some interceptions, no touchdowns, it's going to kind of reveal itself as it did. So how do you feel about this game?
I kind of feel like it was time. It was going to be one of those games where they were going to hit a rough. This is a reality check for them now. Now that this is past them, the Rams should be able to move forward and actually be, continue to get better. I think they needed a loss like this because they had that big win versus Dallas, and they've been playing really well over the past couple of weeks. It's a good start for sure. They're still in the mix of things, so it's not like this loss they should have anything to hang their heads about. I mean, Seattle has not really been playing that great of football as of late. It's barely winning games, narrow wins, narrow losses for them. So we definitely don't know who Seattle is week by week, what they're going to bring to the table. So, as I always said, they're one of those teams that just seems to come on strong really late. So, but I mean, if I'm the Rams, I mean, they got some good stuff going. They got some good youthfulness about their team. Yeah. And hopefully they can, build off of this and try to learn from this loss, even though it was at home. It was a low-scoring game. I mean, they could have went either way. They just needed maybe a couple to take a couple of those turnovers away, and then you may have, a different outcome or something. But it's still early. They'll get a chance to play Seattle again, even though it's tougher going into Seattle as opposed to playing them at home.
Right.
So we'll see what the Rams. I still think the Rams will still be around toward the end and possibly have a chance
at the NFC Championship.
At that wild card at the most. Yeah. Because it doesn't even look like Dallas is going either. So, I think your pick was Dallas and St. Louis.
I did say that.
I mean, not St. Louis, L.A. I keep calling them St. Louis.
Yeah, saying the Cowboys supposed to go to the bowl. But like you said, the season's young.
It is.
But for the record, with this loss between myself, Cia D. Moody's personal teams, with this loss and the Pats win, we are both now tied at 3-2.
3-2.
So I'm glad to see y'all catch up.
This year. All right. Okay. All right. Todd Gurley also had a rough game this game, too. I thought when he doesn't have a big impact on the game, a lot of times it can. Yeah. Hopefully, this won't set him back any. Hopefully, he'll be able to bounce back and go forward. But as far as us catching up, I mean, we have 5 Super Bowls. So if anybody needs to catch up, it's the Los Angeles Rams.
Touche.
Yeah.
You win this round again, my friend.
Yeah.
So, do you want to go ahead with that win? Do you want to give the next game?
Sure. Another one I like to go at here. The Carolina Panthers took a trip to Motown this past weekend as they went to Ford Field to play Matthew and the Detroit Lions. As CJ liked to say, believe it, Matthew. Panthers got that win. It was a back and forth game there for a minute. I think the final score was 27-24.
Yeah. Carolina's
tight end Dixon had a breakout game.
He did.
The best game pretty much of his career.
Yeah.
He did some great things. So did Cam Newton. Carolina is now 4-1.
4-1 now.
And I told you, man, that they would go and they would beat Matthew.
You did. You called it. You definitely called that win.
Yeah. Another loss to another contender, the Falcons, and now the Panthers. But we're gonna make this guy the highest paid quarterback in the league, and he can't even beat contending teams in your home building.
The Panthers are a good team, and I must admit the Panthers' defense played a good factor into this. They actually held Detroit total yardage to just 242. While Carolina's 362 yards is the advantage, obviously. But still, like you said, it was a good back-and-forth match. Matthew Stafford did go 23 for 35 for 229 yards, 2 touchdowns. And note, both of these touchdowns were in a fourth quarter rally, so an attempt to come back. And both was to another person that I think was breakout. I don't know if he's a rookie or something. Darren Fells. Both his touchdowns were for 4 yards and for 20 yards. And the only 2 touchdowns Matthew Stafford had. But he did get hurt, Matthew, I believe.
When is Matthew not hurt?
Okay.
When is he not hurt?
I see what you're doing here.
Yeah.
I see what you're doing.
Yeah.
But, I think, honestly, for me, I attest this game to Lions' defense not being able to contain just because...
Oh, so it's their fault.
I'm not placing blame. I'm not placing total blame, but I am saying that the Lions have played better. The defense has played better recently, like recently, not like in a history, but recently. So I thought they was going to continue to show their development, but it felt like they kind of took a step back in this game against the Panthers. And like you said, these are contenders. Recently being in the Super Bowl. So, yeah, they have to really work on that defense. I mean,
I'm hearing a lot of deflecting.
Listen, man, and Matthew Stafford, he definitely could have had.
I hear the bus coming down the road. You're rolling the Detroit defense under the bus.
No, man.
Last I checked, they weren't the high. I mean, they don't have the highest paid player in the league playing defense. They have the highest paid player in the league playing the quarterback position.
But I mean, even
a lot of times your quarterback is supposed to hide some of those defensive discrepancies based off his talent, especially if you're investing that amount of money in him. And he's already lost to the Falcons. He's already lost to Carolina.
Listen, man.
So a win barely. Who did they beat the other week by 1 touchdown? It was like 14-7.
Oh my!
I don't remember who it was, but I know they barely escaped that one. As well.
Let's see. The Vikings.
The Vikings. So, yeah. So, it's the same old Lions. It is, in a way. It's the same old Lions. I'm not drinking the Kool-Aid here. And I'm telling you why I'm not. I'm not. is I don't believe in Matthew. I'm gonna tell you, Matthew Stafford and Joe Flacco. I will not.
No, hold on now.
No.
We're not going to put Matthew Stafford in Joe Flacco. Which, for the record, I truly have the utmost respect for Joe Flacco. I think he was an amazing quarterback. He is starting. He's starting to show his age right now. He, like you say, I must admit the fact is he is really inconsistent as of late. But I do respect what he was.
You know why he's inconsistent too? Because they gave him all that money too, right? And what has he done to prove it or show it? What has he done since that Super Bowl win? Well, yeah. You don't have to say anything. I know.
But I like I said, I don't think with Matthew Stafford's little injury. I won't even say it's injury, but he did show like it was some awareness to his hamstring or something. I hope I'm not saying the wrong person, but I think it was him. But I do feel like he's going to be back. I think they said that they should expect him back for next week, so it's nothing serious. And I hope so, because they do have a tough game against the Saints. And another good quarterback that's is always under the radar, like Matthew Stafford.
This is where you make your money. When you beat teams like
we'll
that.
talk about that one when we get to those
I smell another one. The next game I have, congratulations to Cam Newton also.
Definitely.
After the week of scrutiny he had, we'll get into that a little bit later about the whole fallout with the comment of the female reporter.
Shout out to Carolina.
And all that. So being able to get over that distraction this week and actually go out and go on the road back-to-back weeks and to get 2 quality wins is really good. Carolina's at 4-1. The next game I have, which caught me by surprise, I definitely thought Buffalo would win this game, but Buffalo versus the Cincinnati Bengals. And Cincinnati won it there.
Yeah, it did.
Caught me off guard.
Both of us.
Yeah, I really thought the fluke win last week against Cleveland would be, wouldn't carry over into this week, but it did. It was still a closely contested game. Was the final score 20-16, right?
Yes, it was.
What kind of stats you have on that?
Andy Dalton had a great game, 22 for 36, 328 yards, 1 touchdown. Well, in spite of having 2 interceptions and 1 fumble. So for him to still pull out that win, I think that's pretty good. Joe Mixon, I think that's his first name, 15 carries for 51 yards and 1 touchdown, as well as A.J. Green, 7 receptions, 189 yards, and a 77-yard touchdown, which is his only touchdown for that. And I think that was in the beginning of the game. So that was a great win for them. Like I said, in spite of the troubles that we still see Andy Dalton having with 3 turnovers for them, and they still pull it out against the Bills, which the Bills had in recent weeks before this game was 3-1. So it was going at 3-1 versus a 1-3.
I think Atlanta and Denver were the teams that they beat.
Right.
But, to lose to Cincinnati, that could be a thing to bring them back down
to reality
as well, and see where that goes. But, I think Buffalo lost their tight end, Charles Clay, who was pretty much Tyrod Taylor's primary go-to person. So with him being down, I'm going to see who they're going to try to run that offense through now with him being injured. But, yes, surprised Buffalo lost this game, or did give them a nod in this one. But Cincinnati's on the come up, it looks like. But I still don't expect. I think this is just. I really was calling for Marvin Lewis's head here the first couple weeks of the season. Still is. Just for the overall view of what he's done since he's been there in terms of postseason. So, we'll see how it goes. Next game I have was the New York Jets at the Cleveland Browns.
Yep.
And the Jets did get the win. It wasn't a convincing win.
It wasn't.
I thought the Jets would I'm a steamroller, baby. Would steamroll them.
If any game, you would think.
Yeah, but Cleveland kind of made it tough. What kind of stats you have on that?
Well, for the Jets, Josh McCown, 23 for 30. 194 yards, 2 touchdowns in spite of having 1 interception. On the other side of the ball, we have Kevin Hogan, 16 for 19, So only 3 incompletions, 194 yards, 2 touchdowns, also having 1 interception. But Cleveland did give 3 turnovers.
Okay.
And for total yards, despite the Jets winning, only had 212 yards total. Wow. Cleveland had 419. So those 3 turnovers by Cleveland made the difference in the favor of the Jets.
Yep. Yeah, the Jets, they pulled it out, and they've been started the season 0-2. Now rallied off 3 straight wins over the last couple of weeks. So they've got some momentum going into this matchup this week against the Patriots. So see how that one's going to turn out with the momentum that they have. But the Jets did get the win. I think we both went with New York to win this game. So we both agreed that Gang Green would win.
Unfortunately.
Who's your next game?
For me, next I got San Francisco 49ers going up against Indianapolis Colts, which we both were wrong on this one. I think both of us went 49ers.
Mm-hmm.
And Indianapolis pulled it out 26-23, actually going to overtime. Josh McCown had a good game. He had 23 for 30, 194 yards with 2 touchdowns. Oh, no, I'm saying the same one. My bad. Jimmy Brissett, which is your old Patriots quarterback, right? Mm-hmm. 22 for 34, 314 yards. No touchdowns, though. Just had 1 interception. Good old Patriots. Mm-hmm. Marlon Mack had 9 carries for 91 yards and 1 touchdown, as well as T.Y. Hilton having 7 receptions for 177 yards. On the other side of the ball, Brian Hoyer went 29 for 46, 353 yards, 2 touchdowns. Marquise Goodwin, 5 receptions for 116 yards. But in the end, it was that old-time veteran, Adam Vinatieri, the 51-yard field goal for the win with just 1 minute, 38 seconds left in overtime.
Yeah, he's been clutch his entire career. Made his first moment against... Well, if you know his history, you know what he was against. I don't have to go into that.
You would take that shot right here.
I remember it, too. Just like in those... The kick was just, and then he did the little...
You know what I remember?
And the 7 seconds.
That's what I remember. I remember
down,
the 7 seconds.
The glory of that.
And not a reset to kick off.
5.
Just
Super Bowl championship.
If you got to start, you might as well start cheating. But next game we both were wrong on that one. I think it's a good game for the Colts, as they're now 2-3, and San Francisco falls even lower to 0-5. The next game I got is Kansas City Chiefs against the Houston Texans. Both of us called this for the Chiefs. The Chiefs remain undefeated at 5-0 with a almost convincing win, 42-34. Alex Smith having a good game, 29 for 37, 324 yards and 3 touchdowns. The rookie sensation Kareem Hunt continues to impress with 29 carries for 107 yards. Travis Kelce, 8 receptions for 98 yards. On the other side of the ball, Deshaun Watson went 16 for 31, 261 yards for 5 touchdowns. So a phenomenal game in defeat for Deshaun Watson. Hopkins, 4 receptions, 52 yards with a 34-yard touchdown to total 3 touchdowns for him altogether. Tyreek Hill for the Chiefs, however, had a phenomenal 82-yard punt return.
This game was back and forth, and Deshaun Watson is really, over the past couple of weeks, I think the last couple of weeks he's thrown like a total of 9 touchdowns to only 1 interception. DeAndre Hopkins has been his go-to target. So you got 2 Clemson alumnus there doing some great things in the league together. And Kansas City continues to impress too. Alex Smith, a lot of people saying he's the MVP of the league right now. And you got Kareem Hunt leading the league in rushing right now, but Leonard Fournette's not too far behind him, but he is just looking like he's going to be the league's leading rusher this year.
Yeah.
We did know Kelce did get injured in that game, but he had a great start to that game. I think he was a concussion under concussion protocol right now for Travis Kelce, but he was doing some great things throughout the course of that game as well. But it really didn't stop Kansas City, even though when he went out, they just continued to run their offense.
Definitely.
That West Coast offense is looking pretty good under Andy Reid right now. Alex Smith looks so comfortable in his offense right now. He looks like he's just in a good position. And a lot of people felt like when they drafted, that young quarterback that they picked up in the draft, I want to say, I don't know if his name is Mahomes or something like that. Not sure if I'm saying his name right. A lot of people felt like they were trying to put pressure on Alex Smith.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, but he is really stepping up and playing really well. But I'm really still pleased with the way Deshaun Jackson is going. I mean, the way he's played against the past 3 weeks against the Patriots, against the week before last when they routed the Titans like 57-14, and then this game going toe-to-toe with Kansas City, among the best team in football right now, which was huge. And I'm going to let you get it, but also DeAndre Hopkins, big shout out to you. You helped me win my fantasy football matchup this week with that last touchdown you grabbed at the end of the game there. For that play at the end, even though it was a garbage time touchdown, I was down 5 points. It was 83-78, and I'm like, Hopkins is the only player that I have left playing, and then the guy that I'm going up against, all of his players have already played for the night. So he's got his 83 points, and I'm sitting there like, I'm 5 points short. And then the garbage time touchdown right at the end of the game, Hopkins catches it. Took me to victory. So I thank you, Hopkins, you and both Deshaun Watson, being from the area of South Carolina, Clemson grads. Thank you for helping me win that fantasy football matchup.
Yeah, man. Unfortunately, it was another injury on the game. J.J. Watt did end up breaking his left leg. And from the looks of it, he's pretty much going to be out for the rest of the season. So it's pretty unfortunate for him.
This week was a rough week, man.
Yeah, it actually was a lot of injuries I've heard across the NFL this week, man. But definitely a phenomenal defensive player in J.J. Watt with a great team that looks to have the build to continue to be great. So for him to lose someone as pivotal as him for that team, it's definitely going to be hard to see how they rebound and play with that major key without him. So,
yeah.
Who do you have for the next game?
The next game I had down, I'm going to go ahead and get into it.
Okay.
These Jacksonville Jaguars, man.
Oh, my goodness.
They're a scary team.
Yes, they are.
They go into Pittsburgh, into the ketchup bottle, Heinz Field, and just murked the Steelers. 30-9.
30-9. I called it.
Yeah, you called it. Jacksonville is
I must admit, though, I was scared in picking them. I was scared.
Topsy-turvy. You don't know what you're going to get week to week with them. But, I mean, the way they blew out Baltimore and London, and the way that they beat Pittsburgh here, and then I don't know what I was more surprised with, because I don't know if you guys who do follow us on Twitter, again, at Sports Moods on Twitter and at It's Sports Moods on Instagram.
Yep.
But on Twitter, I tweeted out, I was like, I don't know what Sports Mood shocker. I don't know what I'm more shocked at, the fact that Ben Roethlisberger threw 5 interceptions, or the Steelers defense gave up a 90-yard touchdown run.
Yeah.
It's like, this is so uncharacteristic from both angles. Like, what is going on with the Pittsburgh Steelers
Definitely
right now?
Not
They've lost to Chicago and now Jacksonville. I don't know. What you got over there on?
Yeah, it's definitely not the Steelers of old, the dominant, which I think I called them.
the Troy Polamalu,
Hines Ward.
Those Steelers would never
not
give up a 90-yard touchdown run. I mean, Joey Porter.
Oh yeah, the defensive
and Ryan Clark and them boys.
Yeah,
you're not Larry Foote. You're not running.
Yeah,
a 90-yard touchdown on them.
So this, of course, like he mentioned, the Steelers. I'm gonna go ahead and start with the Steelers since Ben Roethlisberger is the other veteran that we mentioned of having a poor performance this week. He went 33 for 55. Did have 312 yards, but threw 5 interceptions. Brown, he had his game, of course, 10 receptions for 157 yards. But for the Jacksonville Jaguars, Blake Bortles only went 8 for 14 for 95 yards.
Didn't have to do anything.
And 1 interception. No touchdowns.
It wasn't him, man.
Leonard Fournette is one of, well, like you said, it's one of the key people. 28 carries. He had 181 yards. With one of these 2 touchdowns being the 90-yard touchdown that you mentioned. But on the defense for Jaguars, we have Telvin Smith with a 28-yard interception for a touchdown, as well as Barry Church having a 51-yard interception for a touchdown. Both of these being in the third quarter.
Damn.
And so in all, really, the Steelers were only held to 3 field goals, only scoring 1 in each quarter, the first 3 quarters. But the Jaguars having a breakout 13 points in the third quarter and 10 to follow up at the end to, like you said, to seal this pretty confident win for them, man.
Yeah, they're a dangerous looking team right now. I definitely wouldn't want no parts of them right now. If they can get more consistent by the week, I mean, it's tough, but I really don't know what to make of the Steelers right now. And I know they have a big fan base out there, but I'm sorry, guys.
Yeah, they put me in a bad mood as well.
5 interceptions.
5 interceptions.
90-yard touchdown run against the Steel Curtain.
Against the Steelers. And for them to be 3-2, it's definitely
yeah, because I mean, remember the game they had lost to Chicago, and look how bad Chicago looks.
Exactly. It's pretty bad. Bad moves all over Steelers.
Yeah, bad moves for the Steelers right now. I don't know. Then after the game, Ben Roethlisberger's like, I don't know if I can.
Yeah, maybe I don't have it anymore.
Maybe I don't have it anymore. It's like, boo-hoo.
Yeah, it's like
big man, take it. You suck that
right
day, okay? And just go with it.
I don't know, man. Maybe he's having football PTSD or something.
I don't know. And then, like he wasn't even sure he was going to come back and play football this year. Like, because remember at the end of last season, he had to think, I want to think about, what I want to do with me and my family if I want to come. They didn't even know he was going to come back or not.
Okay, I didn't know that.
I don't know what's going on with Big Ben. Maybe they need to get him to, talk to someone, a counselor or somebody to kind of,
he needs to talk to Brett
bring
Favre.
him back into the fold.
He needs to talk to Brett Favre. Brett Favre will show him how to be 40 years old and still play.
How dare you disrespect Tom Brady? Tom Brady's 40 years old. He's still showing him how. You hear him say, I don't have it anymore.
I'm talking about Brett Favre, though, who was at the brink of retirement. Clearly, Tom Brady doesn't look like he's in the brink of retirement right now, which I wish he was. But so that's why I mentioned Brett Favre, because, I mean, he retired, twice, 3 times, and came back and still
lost
had
count.
Exactly.
I'm retiring, and he's on TV crying. And, I'm coming back from Minnesota.
I think it's it for me, guys. This is the end of the road. Brett Favre is back with the. So definitely, man.
But yeah, Ben needs to get it together. The drama of Pittsburgh. Last week we had Antonio Brown crying because Big Ben missed him on a open pass, and this week Ben comes back and throws 5 interceptions and gets him the ball 10 times for 157 yards, but it still doesn't make a difference.
So I feel like maybe here's just an idea, since you mentioned last week and I didn't think about it. Maybe Ben Roethlisberger was trying to make a point. It was like, you cried about having the ball. I'm going to try and force this ball to you as many times as you want it and show that, you just wanting the ball isn't going to make us win or lose. It's about me spreading and looking at what I can see as the right pass. So, I mean, I didn't see the game, so I don't know if those 5 interceptions were all targeted towards Brown. But, I feel like, in a sense, if he wanted to do it in that manner, this would have been the point where he wanted to make his statement. So, but
true.
What's the next game you got, man?
Next one I have down, we'll say Tennessee and Miami.
Okay.
The Dolphins did get that win. I think the score was it 16?
16-10?
16-10, yeah. So they pulled that one out. Definitely a much-needed win for Miami. They did, their receiver Devontae Parker did get an ankle injury in the game, so he didn't finish the game. Hopefully, I know for a lot of fantasy owners out there, hopefully he can get back up and running again. I don't think Tennessee, did they have Mariota this week?
No, they
didn't have Marcus Mariota.
Matt Castle.
Matt Castle?
Yeah.
Yeah. Where did he come from?
I had no idea.
I'm saying, where did he make his name at?
Yeah.
Another New England quarterback. You haven't seen Jacoby Brissett and Matt Castle? Brian Hoyer with the San Francisco 49ers. Look at New England players all over the league now. But yeah, wasn't it? I mean, rally off me some numbers here.
All right, man. I guess I can do this now. Jay Cutler had a decent game, 12 for 26, 92 yards, 1 touchdown.
That wasn't decent. He didn't even throw for 100 yards.
He had a touchdown. That's always decent.
92
if you can score a touchdown, that's pretty decent.
He had a really decent game, 92 yards.
And, he had 1 interception. So he went even. He went for even. That's why I said it was decent.
92
JJ. A JJ, man, he had 25
Ajayi, please.
Ajayi. Oh, that was a Y. You know, I'm glad you said that.
A JJ.
And it's funny. Push that, man. I am so sorry. Because before this, earlier today, I was trying so hard to practice his name. And I was like, it's Ajayi. I said it right. And I come over here and say a JJ. So, my bad. Ajayi, 25 carries, 77 yards. Landry had 5 receptions, 44 yards, and 1 touchdown. In between the two, for total yards, Tennessee had 188, while Miami was 10 short with 178, and still put out the win. For the Titans, Matt Castle went 21 for 32. I guess this will be the decent game. 141 yards and 1 touchdown.
It's not a decent game.
It's only 50
throw
more
for
yards.
100 yards.
It's only 50 more yards.
But he's over 100 yards. Okay. He had some type of impact.
And Murray had 14 carries for 58 yards. So, like you said, it was still a good win for the Dolphins. I'm actually kind of disappointed to see the Titans starting to have this fall. They kind of started to look like like they were at least coming together as a team. But I guess with Mariota out, and they haven't really been just playing good football for me lately. So,
yeah, Dolphins get that win. But I mean, hopefully Mariota can get back as soon as possible to help this Tennessee team. I thought this team would be a dangerous team.
Yeah.
For teams to face this year. But they have to keep Mariota healthy.
Yeah, definitely.
Who you got next?
Who I got next? I have the LA Chargers versus the New York Giants, which the Chargers finally pull out their win. And this week, man, at beating the Giants, which they fall to 0-5. New York Giants, man. Go ahead. Yeah, that's one more time. That's
and then I got another one for him.
Okay. It's really bad all around.
And the reason why I do that is because, just when it couldn't get any worse, you lose Odell again. You lost 3 receivers in one game. Your whole receiving core is gone.
Really?
Shepard is out. Brandon Marshall got hurt. And Odell Beckham Jr. all got hurt in the same game.
Oh, my gosh.
So they literally have no receivers. We need to go up there and help possibly.
I can catch.
I
would definitely catch a couple of them.
And I saw a meme on Twitter Chad Ochocinco and Terrell Owens is like, hey, Giants, if y'all need receivers.
They do.
Hey, we here.
They definitely need it. That's funny.
It's horrendous to watch the Giants play football.
It is, man. It's been really bad. Even when they had them, it wasn't good football. But for Phillip Rivers, he had a good game. 21 for 44, 258 yards, 3 touchdowns, still with 1 interceptions. Gordon, 20 carries for 105 yards, and Keenan Allen had 4 receptions for 67 yards. On the other end of the ball, Eli Manning went 21 for 36, 225 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. Orleans Darkwa, I think I said his first name right.
I think you're good on that.
I hope so. I don't want to mess anyone up.
But I know JJ wouldn't.
A JJ is, I'm sorry, a JJ. 8 carries, 69 yards, 1 touchdown. And OBJ had 5 receptions, 97 yards, and 1 touchdown. All in a losing effort. But, I mean, they were in there.
It's over.
But it's the Chargers.
It's the Giants.
So somebody had to get that win though. Both
Yeah.
were 0-14.
I'm glad for Phillip. I think they should have been won a game like weeks back, but it's good for them to at least get a win on the board. But both of these teams are really having some very underachieving type seasons with the talent that both of these teams had, especially the Giants. I had a lot of high hopes for the Giants coming in to the season, but it's just horrendous right now. And then given the way the Jets are playing right now, just showing them up in New York
they
right now.
New York.
Yeah, so it's just terrible for the Giants.
It is, man. It really is.
I'm about to put them in the category with Cleveland after a while. If they don't get their selves together.
They really are the new Cleveland.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like we put Cleveland on the field with the Giants probably would win, but still.
Yeah, definitely. Because they should be better. That's the problem. They should be better. So we don't really have high expectations for the Browns right now, unfortunately. The next game I'm calling is Arizona Cardinals versus the Philadelphia Eagles. Another game we both called correctly. The Eagles pulling out the win. Well, not pulling out. The Eagles took this win, definitely. 34-7. Just running some numbers. Carson Wentz went 21 for 30, 304 yards, 4 touchdowns, 1 interception. Nelson, I don't want to say his last name now. Aguilar.
There you go.
Thank you. 4 receptions for 93 yards, 1 touchdown. On the other side, Carson Palmer went 28 for 44, 291 yards and 1 touchdown. And J.J. Nelson had 4 receptions for 80 yards. It was just, they really only scored in the second quarter. So that's it. That's it. I mean, the Eagles took off quick with 21 points in the first quarter and just 10 in the third and ended it off with just a field goal just to kind of add insult to injury to me, actually.
Yeah.
How'd you feel about it, though?
I'm liking what Philly's doing. They've been kind of quietly just nobody's really giving them a lot of recognition. Everybody's been so caught up in Kansas City and Green Bay and what they're doing and everybody else. Nobody's really talking much about Philly right now. And Philly's pretty tough right now. I like what Carson Wentz is doing. He's developing. Seems like by the week he's getting better each and every week. And they got some good stuff going on in Philly right now. But for Arizona, we found out on yesterday that they signed Adrian Peterson.
Yeah, that is right.
Yeah, so I'm anxious to see how he's going to fit into the fold there at the Cardinals. We do know they lost David Johnson at the beginning of the year, and so they've been kind of struggling at the running back position a little bit. Yeah. Just hard to replace a guy's production like David Johnson, but if anybody else can fill those shoes, Adrian Peterson can. I just didn't really like the way he fit in with the Saints.
He didn't.
He just didn't. I just didn't. I told you that in week 1. Like after I actually saw it live on the field, like I just don't see his place.
But I mean,
with this team,
to me, New Orleans, except for the Reggie Bush era for me and David Sproles for a little run, they to me were just a dominant passing, team. So for them,
they're not a smash mouth running football team,
and that's what Adrian Peterson needs. He needs a team that's going to allow him to just go run up and down the field. That's what he is. He's not really like a side-to-side player. He wants to go straight through
in the trenches. Yeah,
exactly.
Uphill runner. So, so I'm anxious to see how that's going to go for Arizona. I mean, they're mathematically they're still in the midst of things, but they just need to try to rally some wins off. To get things going for them.
Definitely. You got the next game?
Yes. Next game I got is the Baltimore Ravens and the Oakland Raiders. Baltimore did get the win.
You called that.
I did.
See,
Moody thought the Derek Carless Raiders would beat the Ravens. Now I give Joe Flacco a lot of heat, but I did think, okay, without Derek Carr, I think Jack Flacco can go in there and he can lead them to a victory. And they did beat Oakland at home. Good news on Derek Carr. We had what we thought would be a 2 to 6 week injury. You're hearing rumors that he'll be back this week.
Yeah.
So I don't know how good that's going to be. I don't know how healthy he's going to be. If that's a good move for them or not. I don't know if they could possibly, extend the injury even more, but
they need him.
They do need him. They do, because they can't allow their season to because they were 2-0 and now they've lost 3 in a row.
Exactly.
So it's kind of like panic mode in a way, because you got the Chiefs who are playing really good football in that division, as well as Denver. So they do need him back. I don't know if that's going to be detrimental to his condition, bringing him back quicker than normal. But
Time will tell.
Yeah.
Time will tell. So
what'd you have stat-wise for this game?
For the stats, for the Ravens, Joe Flacco went 19 for 26, 222 yards, no touchdowns, but no interceptions. Javarius Allen had 21 carries for 73 yards and 1 touchdown. And Mike Wallace, I think that's his first name, 3 receptions for 133 yards. And Jimmy Smith had a 47-yard fumble return for a touchdown. So I thought it's always good to see the defense side score.
I love defensive touchdown.
Definitely. For the Raiders, E.J. Manuel, was that? Yeah, that's the right Manuel? I thought so. 13 for 26, 159 yards, 1 touchdown. Marshawn Lynch had 12 carries for 43 yards, so really not a good game for him this game, but did have 1 touchdown. And Michael Crabtree had 6 receptions for 82 yards, 1 touchdown. And
if I'm the Raiders, where is Amari Cooper? Like, when is he going to have that breakout game this year? He's really been under the radar,
to say the least.
To say the least this year. So I really want to see some production from him. He's a very good target to throw the ball to, but it's just been a struggle for him over the past several weeks. So, so Oakland's 2-3, Ravens are 3-2.
Yep, 3-2.
So the Ravens do get that win on the road. Next game we're going to flow into is the Green Bay Packers and Aaron Rodgers going into Jerry's world. Jerry's playpen is what I like to call it, to take on Dak Prescott and Ezekiel Elliott. And how about them Cowboys? How about them? Here. We're sitting at. It looks like, when I watch that game, it just seems like Aaron Rodgers just has this team's number. Yeah. Like every time Dallas and Green Bay get together, it's always a back and forth game, and it comes down to the end when Aaron Rodgers has that last bullet in the chamber. Yeah. And he just
lets it go.
Lets it fly.
Definitely.
Not taking anything away from Dallas. They played well. They did some good things. But it's just that Aaron Rodgers is just has that number, man.
Yeah. Aaron Rodgers is definitely, like, I don't know how top I would say he is, but he's definitely in anybody's top 5 quarterbacks right now. So, yeah, you can't go against Aaron Rodgers no matter the defense. If anybody's going to find a hole in someone's defense, Aaron Rodgers is one of those guys that's always going to find it, especially at the end. So it's almost like he waits to use that when he needs it the most. So it's always a good game, man. For the numbers, Aaron Rodgers went 19 for 29, 221 yards, 3 touchdowns. Jones had 19 carries, 125 yards, and 1 touchdown. And Devontae Adams had 7 receptions, 66 yards, and 2 touchdowns. On the other end of the ball, Carr played today. No, he did. Yeah. Who played today? Quarterback. Carr is still in, right? Not Carr. Dak Prescott. Boy, you messed me up when I messed up a JJ. I'm like, now I'm just nervous. I'm nervous about messing up everybody. Dak Prescott.
I was like, Carr? What are you talking about, Carr?
No, because look, the Raiders is right above my Cowboys.
But I mean, you wrote your notes. I didn't write your notes for you. So he's like, you're blaming me.
No, I'm not blaming you. I'm just saying.
It's just like the Cowboy fans, man. You just blame everybody else for your losses. And
guys, forgive me. Let me gather myself. Dak Prescott.
I'm appalled
for the Cowboys. Look. He went 25 for 36, 251 yards, three touchdowns, and 1 interception. Ezekiel Elliott had 29 carries for 116 yards. Jason Witten had 8 receptions for 61 yards. Dak Prescott, I'm sorry.
I put some respect on his name, man.
I must, man. Well, no, I don't. They're 2-3. I don't have to.
And then as I'm saying, Cowboys only lost 3 games all of last year, and already through the first 5 games, they've already lost 3.
It's pretty disappointing, man. We're having a lot of disappointing teams right now. The Giants are winless, and then, like you said, the Cowboys are doing great. Well, doing great last year, and now 2-3. And then the Raiders, who made it to the playoffs, well, they made it. Yeah, they made it into the playoffs. See, now I don't know if anything I'm saying is right, but the Raiders went there, and now they're another team that's 2-3. So it's just I don't know what's happening with the shift of what should be from last year and what's happening now. It's pretty bad.
Yeah, it's pretty bad for Dallas, and then we'll get more into the Cowboys, the scrutiny also this week with Jerry Jones and the whole national anthem spiel. So
it really is his playpen because he's definitely toying with the players. So
we're definitely going to get into that later in the podcast, but the Cowboys are 2-3 on the season. Green Bay moves to 4-1.
So
quietly sliding up, climbing the food chain
definitely.
There. Their only loss of the season was to the Falcons. So,
yeah.
Other than that, they've been playing pretty good football.
Definitely.
Now, give or take, they've beaten teams like Cincinnati and Chicago, and Seattle was another okay win for them.
Right. It wasn't a...
Yeah. So, I mean, it is 4-1, but, you know.
Yeah.
I would definitely want to see more from Green Bay, but, you know, for what it's worth, still
you're
playing
gonna be
really
mad
good
at
football.
my top 5 this week.
Yeah, I'm anxious to reveal mine this week, too.
So I'm going to go ahead and get into the last game, which is Monday Night Football. Minnesota Vikings versus the Chicago Bears. D. Moody called it. He got the win 20-17 in favor of the Vikings, which I felt like Chicago would have pulled us out against them. But nonetheless, Case Keenum. Now, do you know where Case Keenum was at before he came there? Oh, you
He was in Houston.
Huh?
He was in Houston. Then he was in St. Louis before he went to Houston. But to answer your question, he was in Houston.
Where he started at.
But you said where he was before he came
but
there.
You know what I meant. Where did he start?
I knew what you asked me.
He started with the Rams. Since we're talking about how your Patriots boys going everybody.
Case Keenum, ladies and gentlemen. Case Keenum.
Anyway, man, you're not
give it up for
Case. They're
Case.
3-2. Give it up for Case. Yo, this man went 17 for 21. 140 yards, 1 touchdown. It's a pretty good performance, only having 4 incompletions. Jerick McKinnon, running back. Had to make sure
I said it right.
Had to make sure.
Looking over me for validation.
I'm nervous about everything I say now. 16 carries, 95 yards, 1 touchdown. Also had 6 receptions for 51 yards. On the other end of the ball, Mike Trubisky was 12 for 25, 128 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. But the team itself, the Bears, unfortunately had 2 turnovers, 1 fumble, and of course Mike Trubisky's interception. And Kai Forbath, the kicker for Bath. See? Another one I don't know. Let me put an accent over his name. He had a 26-yard field goal for the win with just 12 seconds left in the fourth quarter.
Now, when you talk about Trubisky, this was his first start. As we know, they did bench Mike Glennon.
Yeah.
And that interception he actually had a pretty decent game, but the interception he had came at, like, within the last quarter, like the last 3, maybe 4 minutes of the game. Probably later than that in the game in the fourth quarter. In your own territory. Like, he threw that interception like they were back up against their own end zone.
Oh, wow.
And he threw it, and it was just not a good throw. He's scrambling out of the pocket and throwing, trying to fit a ball inaccurately into a space where he just did not see the Viking defender who just stepped in front of it and intercepted. And that's just the growing pains of being a young quarterback. He had a pretty good first start, give or take, but those are the types of decisions if you're going to be a big pro player quarterback on the NFL level, you can't make those caliber mistakes, especially in those situations when the game is on the line. The game is tied at that point. You got the momentum going for you. You're at home, and then you make a turnover like that and just pretty much grant Minnesota. Minnesota just escaped pretty much with that win. I thought they would win more convincingly than what they did over Chicago. Over Chicago. So I just didn't really see this being as close as a game as it was.
Yeah.
So it was very shocking to me that it went down the way that it did.
Definitely. The Bears fall to 1-4, while the Vikings, with Case Keenum, go up to 3-2.
Ladies and gentlemen, Case Keenum. Yeah.
One of my
Give it up for
Rams.
Case.
One of my Rams, man. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. But that is week 5 and in the NFL. To tally up the scores.
Did you tally it this week?
I did. To tally up the scores, D. Moody.
Why you said it was so, I want you to be more, yeah.
I'll try. D. Moody had a great week. At 10-4, he had all 10 right except for 4. 2 of them were some of the surprises that I went for. Most of them that he lost, I lost with him. Mm-hmm. And I fell. Of course, I fell short this week, 8-6. So he definitely is guru of the week in week 5 in the NFL.
I think I've won 3 weeks to your 2, right?
You have definitely won 3 weeks to my 2, and I only won week 1 and 3, I think. So
I think it's like that. Yeah.
So all in all, the tally it up.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay, the tally it up for the season. I'm still in the lead thanks to my week 1, which is at 48-29, but literally right behind me, 3 games behind, is D. Moody at 45-32. So
yeah, I think next week
takes
it's gonna be the shift of power.
Oh, yeah?
Next week, I really do. I really think next week is gonna be my week 2.
I'm putting on my guru hat this week.
And I think I'm gonna take you down next week.
Okay.
It might be only by 1 game, but I feel like you heard it here.
Okay.
Next week, I will be in the lead.
Okay.
I'm here to let you know. It's been pretty good so far. I've come all the way up after 5-10 week 1. And, I like to do math. I like to remind you guys of my triumphantness. 5-10 start. Since then, I've gone 40-22 to be within 3 games. And he had a little major lead on me here for a couple of weeks.
Yeah, I did.
And I'm just chopping that tree down. Eventually, we're going to call timber.
Oh.
And it's going to fall down. So.
Bravo.
You like how I did that there, right? You like that?
Yeah, I'll take that. I'll definitely take that.
So, you're 48-29. I'm 45-32.
Yep.
Right behind you, the footsteps walking you down, man. Getting louder. So, with that being said, we can roll into our
Top 5
power rank. I guess since you went first last week, I'm feeling really good this week. I won again. I'm on a roll as of late. So I think I'm going to roll it right into it. Okay. My power ranks of this week.
So you got to give them last week.
You have that for me?
I do.
I love for you to have everything to remind
enjoy
me.
it now.
Yeah,
sir.
enjoy it now. So who did I have last week?
So going from 5-1, counting down. At number 5, you had the Carolina Panthers. At 4, you had Pittsburgh Steelers. At 3, you had the Denver Broncos. At 2, the Atlanta Falcons. And at number 1, Kansas City.
All right.
Chiefs.
So we already know one of those teams is not in there anymore.
I wonder who.
Yeah, I wonder who that could be. Number 5 this week, a new entry for the first time this season in my top 5. Philadelphia Eagles.
Okay.
4-1.
I can.
They deserve. I think it's time for me to start showing them some respect.
I definitely understand.
I like what Carson's doing there.
Yeah.
I like what the Eagles are doing, so I'm going to give them.
Eagles at number 5.
Give them their due.
That's what I'm talking about.
Number 4, I had to push them down, even though by virtue they didn't have a game this week.
Yeah.
The Falcons were on a bye week. So they're 3-1. I'm going to push them down to 4.
Okay, I understand.
New entry into my top 5 at number 3.
Another new entry.
Green Bay Packers.
Okay.
Number 3.
3 Green Bay.
4-1.
Yeah.
Even though I know they haven't really done that much, but they beat Dallas, and they do have a pretty good win against Seattle. And I need to see a little bit more, but just by virtue of the record and how Aaron Rodgers is playing right now, I put them in at number 3.
Okay. I respect that.
Moving up 3 spots this week in my top 5, Cam Newton and the Carolina Panthers at number 2, 4-1 on the season.
This is true. This is true.
After going in there beating Matthew and the Lion Cubs, the Lionesses.
Oh, disrespect.
I move them up, and then by virtue of the Patriot win, all along, winning that game the other week, Carolina's my number 2 team in the league right now.
Okay.
And number 1. Since week 1, still holding it down.
All right.
Kansas City. 5-0.
Definitely.
So I just want to reflect on my top 5 again. It's Philly at 5. Atlanta at 4. Green Bay at 3. Carolina at 2. And KC at 1.
All right.
Now you do notice 4 of my 5 teams are all NFC teams.
How about that?
And only 1 AFC team. And I'm an AFC guy.
Yeah.
But just looking at how Pittsburgh has been looking, how New England is looking, how Oakland's looking. There's the only other team I have, right now that's on the cusp of it. And Denver, I slid them down to 6.
Okay.
Because they didn't have a game this week either.
Right.
So, but I mean, most of the NFC teams are in my top 5 here.
Okay. I see what you done there.
Mm-hmm.
So, I guess now it's time for my top 5.
Mm-hmm.
My last week's top 5 was at 5. I had Pittsburgh Steelers. At 4, I had Denver Broncos. At 3, the Atlanta Falcons. 2, the Detroit Lions. And 1.
You had the who in there?
I had Detroit Lions at number 2.
Please make me happy this week.
Number 1. I think you actually, what's funny? You will be shocked at how happy I make you this week. But at number 1, last week I had the Chiefs. So going into my top 5, I have a new entry for number 5 this week. My number 5 is Carolina Panthers. I'm impressed with them. I'm not totally sold on the Panthers, even though, like you said, they had some big wins. But for whatever reason, I'm just not totally sold in comparison to the 4 I have on top of them. Just to say that.
Okay.
So, at number 4.
I know one of them better not be who I think it is the 4 you have above them.
I'm not going to spoil it. I'm not going to spoil it for you.
I just know they better not be there. I'm about to go off.
For number 4, I have another new entry. I actually have 2 more new entries. Go for it. Philadelphia Eagles. At number 4. This is going to put you in the back? Yeah, you got to applaud it.
I'm liking this already.
I'm telling you, they like you said, they've been definitely undercarded, but still a great team. They've been undercarded, still a great team. And like you said, I like what they're doing. And nobody, like I said, nobody's thinking of them, but they're still showing some good matchups and some decent sustainability into their win columns. So for number 3, which remains the same for me, is my Atlanta Falcons. They remain at number 3 for me.
I think you can't knock them down too far because they didn't play
exactly
this week. So
yeah, that's the only reason I kept them there. I mean, I feel like even though the Broncos didn't play this week and I took them off, but for me, I felt like the Falcons in between the two, they're the better team between the two, so I had to keep them there. So, and I feel like the Panthers and the Eagles kind of knocked Pittsburgh.
They're going to play each other this week, so.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, Thursday Night Football, Panthers and Eagles. That's going to be a good one.
Number 2 is my last new entry. Green Bay Packers.
I'll give you that. Yours look kind of very similar to mine.
That's what I said. When I listened to yours, I was like, you had to have seen mine or something. I know you haven't. We haven't looked at each other's. We always make our stuff and our stats and notes before we come together to do these podcasts. So the fact that not only did we both add these new entries together, my 3 were stacked in the same fashion as his. His just happened to be from 5 through 3, while mine was 4 through 2. So, yeah. And like you said, Aaron Rodgers, even though he hasn't had like big challenges, I mean, he's still 4-1, and it's still Aaron Rodgers, still one of the top quarterbacks. I really just need to see a little bit more from the defense for me, but that they deserve number 2 for me. And of course, number 1 will remain the Kansas City Chiefs because they're undefeated. They're the top team right now. They show new ways that they can win a game each time, especially with this week the big kick, the punt return. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, you don't know how to beat them yet almost. And, I mean, it shows because they're undefeated. They're still 5-0. Mm-hmm. So, but that is my top 5 for this week. I'm going to go over it again. Number 5, Carolina Panthers. Number 4, Philadelphia Eagles. Number 3, the Atlanta Falcons. Number 2, the Green Bay Packers. And number 1, Kansas City Chiefs.
I'm proud of you, man.
See, I took them.
You took Matthew out of there. Yeah. Matthew he should have been gone 2 weeks ago.
No, man.
But I knew eventually your hand was going to be forced, and you were going to have to take him out. Like there's no way you could left Detroit just sitting there.
And honestly, it's funny. As much as I didn't want to, I was like, I almost put them in at number 5, and I was like, no. I can't. It's not right.
It's not. And you see me with New England. Like the past 2 weeks, New England has not been there.
That's another thing I think of.
Because they're not playing good football right.
So if you can do that, and I haven't put the Rams in for obvious reasons, but for you to do that with the Patriots, I can show respect when respect is due and say, hey, the Lions aren't playing up to par right now. So.
And right now, how the rest of my top 10 looks is just I had Denver at 6. Unfortunately, Detroit at 7.
Okay.
New England at 8. Pittsburgh at 9. And I got the Rams at 10.
Okay. Look at that.
I mean, because Buffalo just lost to Cincy, so... And then you look at the Rams' losses. It's only been to Washington and Seattle. Those are pretty decent football teams.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay. I mean, I never really go far as 10, but I mean to say that I can have 6 and 7. I do have Denver dropping down to 6 and number 7. Still Matthew. Matthew's still there in my top 10. But I feel like if I was going to make a 8, 9, and 10. Just looking at what we have, 8 for me would probably be Jacksonville. Just by how surprisingly they've been, kind of performing.
Yeah. I still hadn't ready to pull the trigger on them top 10 just yet.
Yeah.
But I mean, they're gaining some ground, man.
Yeah, definitely.
Man, they just got to show me some little bit more consistency, then maybe they'll start to crack the top 10.
Right.
But I mean, that's a convincing way. You don't see many teams going to Pittsburgh and beat the Steelers the way that they did, and the fashion that they did. So
definitely,
9
would be the Patriots if I had to do my 10.
We don't want your approval.
I'm just saying.
We don't want your approval.
I'm just saying. They're still a good team. I must admit. I mean,
they are.
Even with their poor performance, it's still the Patriots. Like they're not falling like the Steelers have been. Like. They still show
at least.
Right, yeah.
It's
even
close.
in defeat, y'all are showing that y'all are just missing something. Like it's just like an advantage. Somebody gets an advantage on you. It's not just everybody shutting down. So, and then my number 10 would be and I just had it and I just missed it. It's not going to be the Rams, surprisingly. It's going to be the Bills for me. Just like I said, I think just by surprising,
looking kind of
it's still a loss, but just by the surprising performance they've been having of late, they just for me, I was like, because to me, Seattle beating my Rams, I felt like that was more of a disappointing for me than them losing to the Bengals. Just not because Seattle isn't a great team. But like I said, because of our history, if anybody, when we were even at our worst, the team we could beat was the Seahawks. So for me, it's just, even though, like you said, they are divisional, they do see each other more, so they can see each other. But yeah, I think I like the Buffalo right now, just what they're doing. So if I had to make a top 10, that would be, and I'm literally writing it down as I do it.
Top 5 of the season. I'm proud of it.
My first logical top 5.
That makes sense. Finally.
Oh, man, whatever, man.
Well, we're going to wrap up things with the NFL. That was week 5 of the NFL. We will round off the podcast with our week 6 NFL picks. Again, I'm 3 games behind. CJ now at 45-32. He is 48-29. So the lead is getting smaller by the week. Later in the podcast, we're going to come with some other sports. We're also going to get into some WWE, talk about Monday Night Raw, as well as Smackdown Live, fresh off of their Hell in a Cell pay-per-view. If you did miss our Hell in a Cell review, it is posted on Twitter, and you guys can go and check it out through Spreaker or YouTube, whichever outlet you want to use to see that, to give us some support there.
And, which is just a little note, it hasn't been approved yet, but we're currently working so that we can have our radio, Sports Moods, on iHeartRadio. I've already submitted it into it, and I'm just really pinning the approval. So hopefully that'll also be another platform, because I know Spreaker isn't the most common thing that we use. So it's, for most people, they're finding out about Spreaker as we post about this, which is still a good platform with plenty of other great radio stuff, so I'm glad to be a part of it. But I know iHeart has been a more common thing, so if we can be up there, you probably already have iHeartRadio somewhere in your phone, so that'll also be a good place for you to find us.
Awesome. That's awesome to find out. Coming up next, though, we're going to get into some college football, talk about the week in college football. We revealed to you the new top 10, as well as some big matchups coming up in college football this week. This is Sports Moods, 2 Moodies.
1 Duty.
Sports. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back and tuning in and listening to Sports Moods, 2 Moodies,
1 Duty.
Sports. So we just finished up wrapping up week 5 of the NFL, revealing the picks and tallying up the record. And so now we're going to get into some college football. We're going to start off with the primetime matchup of the week, which was Michigan State going into the Big House to take on Michigan, unbeaten Michigan, the number 7th ranked team in the polls. Michigan State wins in the Big House in front of over 112,000 people. And this is the first time this matchup ever took place in a primetime game. Out of all the times these two teams have hooked up and played against each other over the years and in history, this is the first time they've ever played under the bright lights. Okay. Michigan State's coach Mark D'Antoni was pretty much saying that he couldn't say enough about. He said, "I can't say enough about our defense. We did it the hard way." And basically what he was referring to is the fact that Michigan State's defense forced 5 turnovers in that game, and several penalties were against Michigan. So they pretty much, usually Jim Harbaugh's about being a disciplinary coach, making sure his team is going to play disciplined football. But Michigan State's game plan really took that away from Michigan. And this is what Jim Harbaugh had to say about it. He was like, when we got momentum going, we turned it over. So basically, every time he felt like they mustered enough energy to get some positive things going,
they lost it.
They lost the momentum by turning the ball over. And obviously, if you turn the ball over 5 times, the chances of you winning that game is very slim. And then you look at how Michigan opened up the game with a 16-play, 64-yard drive that took nearly 7 minutes off the clock, but they had to settle for a field goal. And then Michigan State's LeWerk scored a go-ahead touchdown, 14-yard touchdown run late in the first quarter. And he also threw a 16-yard pass to Madre London to give Michigan State a 14-3 lead. So Michigan led midway through the second quarter by 11 points in the Big House.
Definitely.
So Michigan scored its only touchdown in the third quarter on a Khalid Hills 1-yard TD run. And that got them to within a 14-10 advantage, Michigan State. But Michigan State didn't have a first down in the second half. And then also in the second half of this game, some strong winds and heavy rain came in. So that really played a big factor of how that second half went. It was very tough to really execute a lot of stuff in inclement weather that way. But Michigan State didn't have a first down in the second half until the final drive, which ended with a punt with 34 seconds left on the clock. Michigan would run out of time on the last drive, and they suffered their first loss of the season. So Michigan State came into the game 3-1. They're now 4-1.
Yep.
And Michigan was 4-0, and now they fall to 4-1. So a tough loss in prime time for Michigan to Michigan State.
And I just wanted to add, like you said, LeWerk. What's his first name? Brian LeWerk?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Had like I said, guys, I'm still nervous about saying anything. But I'm just going in on just looking at the stats. He, like you said, had 61 yards rushing and 15 carries, and like you said, for that one touchdown he had, as well as with his passing, he went 11 for 22, 94 yards, and the passing touchdown. So, like you said, he just had a great performance in this clutch game, like you said, in the Big House. Mm-hmm. So that's all I just wanted to add.
Yeah, I mean, to go on the road, Michigan is already a tough place to go play. The atmosphere there is like none other than you ever want to go to any college football stadium in America. And it's, to go there over 112,000 people in attendance for that game, and to go there and to win a road game. This is supposed to be more of like a rebuilding season for Michigan State. Now, you think 2 years ago they were in the college football playoff, and they had a down year, and then this year was expected to be a down year, and they're already at 4-1, already overachieving on the season. So that's a big win. And then out of the last 10 years, Michigan State has beaten Michigan 8 of the last 10 years.
Wow.
So that's the first time in this rivalry that they've won that many games over a span of 10 years. So Michigan State has pretty much had Michigan's number over the last decade. So a big win to the Spartans out there. Shout out to Jemele Hill and her Spartans. She's a big Michigan State alumni, so I'm pretty sure she was glad of them going in there and getting that win. And most time when you think of Michigan State, I always think of their basketball team, college basketball over college football. But over the last couple of years, they've been pretty relevant in college football, so that's a huge win for them there. The next game I want to get into is Big Bad Bama on the road in a tough SEC test, going into College Station to take on a 12th man and Texas A&M Aggies. This is a statement that Nick Saban released. He pretty much said, "I'm trying to get our players to listen to me instead of listening to you guys, the media. all that stuff that you write about and all the stuff that gets played on ESPN is like poison. So basically, you know, the Bama is still where they need to be. They're still among the elites of college football. But Nick Saban is like that perfectionist guy where he wants them to still exceed above what they're doing. Like, he always feel like there's more to pull out of them. He wants them to be disciplined. He doesn't want them to get caught up in all the hype of everything that's going on and all the praise that they're getting right now. He still wants them to be focused. And a lot of time playing into what the media has to say a lot of times can cloud your judgment in a way.
Yeah.
And I guess he really didn't think, because they were going into this game, Alabama was expected to win this game by 26.5 points. You know, so they were favored highly to win this game. They only won by 8.
Right.
So I guess that was a subpar performance in Nick Saban's eyes more than anything. They did win at 27-19.
No, I'm just saying, I think it attested to, like, before this game, all through the week, I saw nothing but, like you said, the ESPN posting stuff about is at Texas A&M their kryptonite, or how Johnny Manziel had that great performance against them in his heyday. So, like, I can see what Nick Saban was going on about, because if you see the national sports channel putting doubt on your capabilities of remaining this dominant team, of course it's going to start, after too long of seeing the same thing, you start to doubt yourself. So yeah, I definitely understand Saban's side where he just talked about it being poison, and I wish it didn't do that, because I feel like if they had a clear mind and this game was the first time they played each other, it probably would have been as far of a span as people predicted it to be.
So, also, Jalen Hurts threw a touchdown pass in this game and also ran for one. He threw for 123 yards, ran for 56 in the game. A&M's quarterback, Mond, was 19 of 29, 237 yards, a TD, and a pick. He also rushed for 14 yards in the game. A&M was, again, a 26.5-point underdog going into this game. So to really play the Tide the way that they did, pretty close, was huge. They also had the defense or special teams unit had a block punt for a safety against Bama, which pulled them from 24-12. So Bama also added a late field goal to extend it to a 27-12 lead, and then A&M added a late touchdown. I think this was an unexpected test for Bama, because obviously Nick Saban went in knowing that, hey, if we focus, we can dominate this team. But he really feels like they lost a little bit of focus, and that's what allowed A&M to kind of linger and stay around in this thing. But to me, the only credible win for Alabama this year was the win against number 3 Florida State when they were number 3 at the beginning of the season. Yeah. Since then, I mean, they have played teams in the SEC which they've dominated, and a lot of times sometimes you can be a prisoner of your own success sometimes. But to me, just given that, I just really feel like Clemson has done more, you know, against ranked opponents, and I really feel like Clemson should be the number 1 ranked team in the nation right now over Alabama. And I know coming into this game, Bama was outscored their opponents 125-3. You know, I mean, that's just astonishing just to say that out loud. Yeah. But it's Bama. You expect that sometimes. Right. And I just feel like, given the virtue of what Clemson has done against the top tier teams, the top 15, 3 wins versus top 15 teams in the first month of the season, and really Bama has is just that win over Florida State. If you look at them now, they're not what they were expected to be after the Francois injury. So I still not saying Bama's not great. They're not going to be there, because it's looking like it's going to come down to them and Clemson one more time, which I wouldn't mind seeing that again. But I just feel like right now they should be a number 2 versus number 1. Anything else you have to add to the Crimson Tide and Texas A&M?
No, man. Like you said, it's a good win, which probably could have been better if they just weren't in their own heads. Definitely. I don't see Texas A&M as being the contenders, even though they are what they were, a 4-1 team going into this game. But I mean, it's Alabama right now, and like you said, I mean, the only questionable person that would be considered to be on top of them is Clemson, and both of these teams are undefeated. And then, like you said, those were the two national champions. Well, in the national championship playoffs for the last 2 years now. So I feel like you said, they just got in their own head, as Nick Saban mentioned, and they allowed them to get 300 yards total off. So, yeah.
But Bama rolls on to 6-0, roll tide.
Roll tide.
So they're 6-0, still sitting at number 1 in the rankings. The next game I wanted to get to was the upset of the week. Iowa State versus number 3 Oklahoma.
Oh.
Oklahoma suffers that first loss of the season. Everybody thought going in after that big win at Ohio State, planting that flag in the middle of Ohio State's logo and Baker Mayfield for Heisman. But since they began Big 12 play, they've been more of a mediocre team. It was a close game. It was 38-31. Iowa State going into Norman, Oklahoma, winning. Iowa State had to rally down from a 24-10 hole that they were in, outscoring Oklahoma 28-7 down the stretch. Their quarterback for Iowa State, Kyle Kempt, had 343 yards passing, 3 touchdowns in the game. He was 18 out of 24 on the pass completions. His receiver, T. Ryan, had 4 receptions for 99 yards and a touchdown. Baker Mayfield was 24 of 33, 306 yards, 2 touchdowns. Still no interceptions on the season. Yeah. Baker Mayfield. He's taking care of the football.
It's pretty accurate.
And that's still going to give him high hopes to being a Heisman. I mean, we come down on Darnold from USC the last couple of weeks with all the interceptions, and looking at Baker Mayfield, still not throwing an interception on the season, which is a really good attribute to have at this point of the year. Their halfback, Sermon, was 18 carries for 90 yards. The big difference for me in the game was Iowa State had 0 turnovers. And then Oklahoma only had 1, but still, we can win the turnover battle. That always gives you a great chance of winning the football game.
Definitely.
Iowa State had 449 total yards. Oklahoma had 513 total yards. So the game was tied at 24 apiece heading into the fourth quarter. Basically, Oklahoma got into another shootout this week. And this is a cool stat that I came across this week. Especially in this game, Oklahoma led in every statistical category, but lost the turnover battle and then the final score. But since they started in their conference play of the Big 12, they've only outscored their opponent 78-77. So they've scored 78 points but given up 77 points over the last 2 meetings. So remember, the Baylor game was 49-41, and then this game is 38-31. So their defensive issues is what's giving them the problem.
Definitely.
They've given up 972 yards in 2 Big 12 games.
Gosh.
It's almost 1,000 total yards in just 2 games of a Big 12 schedule. Iowa State and Baylor were the shootout games, and those games could have gone either way. Yeah. So Oklahoma luckily got through Baylor, but this time trap game here versus Iowa State. And it's only going to get tougher for them because up next they have the Red River rivalry with Texas. They play the Texas Longhorns. So that's also going to be a tough game for them. Texas is one of those dangerous football teams. They played USC tough early in the year.
Yeah.
The Trojans really tough. So, and then going into this game, Iowa State was a 31-point underdog and won by 7.
How about that?
Yeah. So that goes to show you all these spreads and what the people in Vegas think about the odds of this team winning or losing. It all comes down to the play on the field at the end of the day. On any given day, one thing that always stood out to me, and I'm going to use an NFL reference here. Back when Rex Ryan was coaching the Jets and he used to play the Patriots all the time, he would say, a lot of people talk about Bill Belichick's great at this and the Patriots are great. And he's like, I'm not here to kiss Bill Belichick's rings. And they would talk about, well, what's your game plan for Bill Belichick and the Patriots? Like, all I need to do is to be better than Bill Belichick for one day. That's it. One day for 4 quarters.
Wow.
And that's basically what I look at when these odds makers make these spreads like, oh, this team's going to lose by more than 26 points or 31 points. You don't know until the games are played.
Definitely.
You don't know what's going to happen.
Sports.
Yeah, especially in college, like, you never know what can happen. Like, you don't know what's going to take place, how the game is going to go. I know a lot of times, a lot of people feel like then when they see these upsets, it's like, they caught off guard with it, like, oh, I can't believe Oklahoma just lost because you never know how this game is going to go. It's how it's going to turn out.
You're right.
And with Oklahoma's loss here, they dropped to 12th in the rankings, all the way from number 3.
Jeez.
So a huge fall from grace for Oklahoma. And given the fact, anytime you lose to a team that's not ranked, and you're in the top 10, you're gonna tumble down the rankings.
That makes sense. Makes sense.
They're not ranked, so it's not like it's a close game where you lost to a ranked team. So they dropped 9 spots from 3 all the way down to number 12. They're still in a good spot. The win at Ohio State is still big for them, but they still need to try to add more to their season to try to stake their claim that they deserve to go to the college football playoff.
Definitely.
All right, so those are just a couple of games I just want to shed some light on. Other notable games that took place this week, we saw NC State upset Lamar Jackson in Louisville, 39-25. So the Cardinals lose their second game of the season.
It's not looking good for Lamar.
It's not looking good for Lamar to close it out, for sure. Georgia still remains unbeaten, 45-14 over Vanderbilt. Clemson, the defending national champs, over Wake Forest, 28-14. Penn State also remains undefeated on the year, beating Northwestern 31-7. Another matchup of ranked teams, number 23 West Virginia loses at number 8 TCU. Final score of that was 31-24. So another win for TCU over a ranked opponent. We do know they knocked off Oklahoma State a couple of weeks ago, and then now beating number 23 West Virginia. Miami defeats Florida State 24-20 down in Tallahassee. Ohio State just destroyed the Maryland Terrapins 62-14. There's a controversial targeting call in that game. So it was one of those things where the player got ejected from the game. I didn't think it was targeting. I thought it was more of a clean hit, but how it depends on the officiating crew and how they view it. But I just honestly felt like, hey, this is not a target. Didn't warrant a targeting call in that game. But nonetheless, the Buckeyes still get the win. I think Washington State still unbeaten, 33-10 over Oregon. So they are still undefeated, including that big win versus USC last week over the Trojans, handing them their first loss. And speaking of the Trojans, they get back into the win column, 38-10 over Oregon State. Washington Huskies, 38-7 over Cal. They're still undefeated as well. The state of Washington right now in football, out there in the Pacific, they are looking good right now. Both of those programs out there undefeated on the year. South Carolina back getting closer to home for us. Get back in the win column. They're 4-2 on the season, 48-22 over the Arkansas Razorbacks. So those are just some of the other notable games that took place. Just some of the scores there. Just wanted to throw some of those out there. And then I'm going to reveal to you guys the new college football top 10. So number 10 this week. This is according to the top 25 college football rankings. Number 10 is Auburn at 5-1.
Okay.
Number 9, Ohio State at 5-1. Number 8, Washington State in the top 10 this week at 6-0. Number 7, Wisconsin Badgers 5-0. Number 6, TCU Horned Frogs at 5-0.
That's the boys.
Number 5, Washington Huskies 6-0. Again, you just forget that they were there last year. They were in the college football playoff last year, so they're just still sitting there like, yeah, we're here. You don't have to say nothing about us. We're sitting here.
Right.
So number 4, this is a dangerous team for sure. I definitely want to see this matchup. Hopefully it gets down to it, Georgia and Bama. I definitely want to see Kirby Smart versus Nick Saban. He used to work on that staff with Alabama before taking over Georgia. They're 6-0, sitting at number 4. Number 3, Penn State and Saquon Barkley, 6-0. Number 2, the defending national champions, Clemson Tigers at 6-0. And number 1,
if you ain't already know,
Fee, Fi, Fo, Fum. Big Bad Bama is still number 1 at 6-0. So that rounds out your top 10 this week. Want to get into some quick matchups that's going to take place next week, and I'm going to let C. Moody hit you with your Heisman hopefuls. This week, as we mentioned, Oklahoma versus Texas. Should be a good shootout there between those two teams, the Red River rivalry. Auburn versus LSU should be a good one. Alabama's going to take on Arkansas this week. Clemson versus Syracuse. Michigan looks to rebound after that loss to Michigan State versus Indiana. We did know Indiana gave Ohio State a tough game in their opening game of the season. Ohio State versus Nebraska. And Wisconsin versus Purdue are some of the notable matchups upcoming this week. Now I'm going to turn it over to C. Moody for your Heisman hopefuls.
All right, guys. These are this week's Heisman High Five. And we have another running back added into our top 5 for this week as we lose another quarterback. So, well, before I get into my top 5, I must say Lamar Jackson has fallen from grace in the top 5. Is now number 6. So, but here are our top 5. Starting at number 5, we have Rashad Penny, coming from San Diego State University. For the season, he has accumulated 993 rushing yards in 143 attempts, 9 touchdowns altogether for the season. Having a great game versus UNLV this past week with 2 touchdowns, 170 yards. At number 4, we have Luke Falk from Washington State. So far, he has thrown for 2,000 yards this season and 19 touchdowns. His completion percentage is 71% for the season, and his rating for the season is 158.3. Yes, sir. Number 3 is the only quarterback that's still in it from the beginning. Baker Mayfield, quarterback from Oklahoma. Even though he suffered his loss of the season, he did throw an interception. Well, he is yet to throw an interception and has rushed for more yards against the Cyclones than in any game this season. And for this season so far, he's thrown 15 passing touchdowns, only 1,635 passing yards. But once again, the highlight for Baker Mayfield is that he has yet to throw an interception. At number 2, we have Bryce Love, from the running back from Stanford, yeah. And for the season, he has rushed for 1,240 yards and 9 rushing touchdowns as well. In this past week versus Utah, he rushed for 152 yards and 1 rushing touchdown. And at number 1, Penn State's very own running back, Saquon Barkley, remains at the top for the season, only having 649 rushing yards and 6 touchdowns. But this past week, he accounted for 75 rushing yards, 2 rushing touchdowns, one of them being a 53-yard run. And those are this week's Heisman High Five.
Yeah, I mean, not surprised that Barkley and Mayfield is still there. Very intrigued to see what Washington State's quarterback is going to continue to do. 2,000 yards passing already.
Yeah.
Looking good, especially with that high QBR rating. And then the San Diego State player, I mean, coming from a small school like that and making prime time news in college football in the Heisman race. So anxious to see how it all is going to turn out. I mean, you said Lamar Jackson kind of falls from grace. Sam Darnold falls from grace.
He's falling hard.
So it's kind of looks like it's either Saquon Barkley's or Baker Mayfield's to win.
Possibly.
Strong possibility there. I do know Saquon Barkley had some big tests coming up for this month of October, going up against both Ohio State and Michigan. So that could, if he has some really good games against those and they can win those football games, that could really also cement his place potentially winning the Heisman. So, but I mean, that's pretty much everything we have for college football this week. We've covered everything from the recap of some of the games that took place, the scores in some of the other games, and then we revealed to you the new top 10, as well as the Heisman hopefuls and the big matchups coming up this week in college football. Coming up next, we're going to get into some WWE action. This should be a very, very good portion of the sports podcast. Monday Night Raw. Did the Shield return? We'll find out if they did. And then Smackdown Live coming off the cusp of their Hell in a Cell pay-per-view in the aftermath. Why did Sami Zayn turn on Shane McMahon and help Kevin Owens? We'll find out. You've been listening to Sports Moods. 2 Moody's.
1 Duty.
Sports.
And we're back. As always, it's C. Moody here with
D. Moody.
And we are Sports Moves. 2 Moody's.
1 Duty.
Sports. We have already gotten into this past week in football, hitting week 5 of the NFL, as well as week 6 in college sports, hitting some key games, key matchups, the top 10 rankings in college sports, as well as the top 5 Heisman hopefuls. But now we're getting into some good old wrestling. Starting it off with WWE Monday Night Raw. And for me, you know what? I'm not going to give my rating. I'm going to just go ahead and get into it. I'm not going to say what it is. I'm going to just go ahead and say how it started off. It started off with Miz TV. And he decided to give another one of his notorious award shows, the Mizzies.
Part 2.
Yeah, part 2. First of all, calling himself the guy now. And he decides to give an award for perseverance to Curtis Axel, and he dedicates it to Bo Dallas while he's hurt. So why one's hurt and both of them got the same treatment? I mean, maybe he's,
I don't know.
Maybe he's really hurt. So, but Miz did take a quick shoot at Curtis Axel actually being a great wrestler. So I felt like, that was something. It was like, oh, okay.
Did he confuse him with his father?
I don't know. He might
Mr. Perfect. But anyway, go ahead.
And this next award was for the destruction of Roman Reigns, which was the best supporting actors. And he gave it to Sheamus and Cesaro. And he says that they brought the bar to new heights with last week's performance.
And then when they came down talking this shit, how Cesaro's talking with this mouthpiece, and it's just like, it's just like, I want you to get your teeth back so you can talk like you normally do.
Right, and then on top of that, Sheamus and Cesaro thanked Roman, Seth, and Dean, And then once again, Miz does another shoot at the Shield reunion, saying that they don't quote unquote want any of this.
Yeah, I saw. Yeah.
The this being now the new it group being the Miz, Sheamus, and Cesaro, saying that they put an end to Roman Reigns. And then, of course, it wouldn't be the Mizzies if the Miz didn't give an award to himself. And this award was for being the big guy, for revolutionizing the WWE himself. And he dedicated that win to his unborn child, which, in a sense, that was a sweet moment. Because I feel like that was, even though this is a fake award show, I mean, the fact that he mentioned his son is always going to be adorable for me. Mm-hmm. But then, of course, it's that time. Hold on, this is serious right now. Roman Reigns comes out first. And he says, being the big dog, he gives them one chance to get out of his ring.
Get up out my ring.
Get up out my ring.
And get up out my ring.
and the Miz does the most classic cliche phrase in the book. There's 4 of us, but only 1 of you. And he says that Roman Reigns is nothing but hype. And they're talking about the rumors of the Shield coming. And then Roman Reigns says, who said anything about rumors? And it is at that moment, D. Moody, that Dean Ambrose comes out. He looks, they pause for a second, and then you hear, I'm not going to yell it, burn it down.
You were about to yell. I really felt like you was about to.
I was about to try my hardest. Matter of fact, burn it! And then Seth Rollins comes out, and then they just sit there for a moment to let the crowd just feel it, what's about to happen. And then all 3 of them come to the ring in Shield fashion, surrounding the ring. And just when they get in, the first person to get out is the Miz.
No, he don't want any of this stuff.
Right, he don't want any of it. And so they take out Sheamus, Cesaro, and Curtis Axel. I forgot Curtis Axel was in there. And then they finally look at the Miz outside. He tries to run both ways and gets chased into the ring. Yeah. Runs into Dean Ambrose's Dirty Deeds, which I felt like was a shoot at their past feud that they've had before. And then, of course, it wouldn't be a solidification to this reunion without them doing the 3-man power bomb and then standing over the carcass of the Miz, fist forward in true Shield fashion to let the world know that the Shield is back. Thank you so much.
That was for you.
That was for me.
Yeah. If you guys could see right now, he is like,
I am like
glowing.
A kid.
Like his face is like, his smile is from ear to ear.
This is Christmas for me.
Yeah. He's super excited about this year reunion, and I'm excited. And I don't want to be the doom and gloom. I'm not as excited as I should be.
I respect that.
But I am glad to see them back together. I would say I am. But I just wish it was
somebody.
Just another faction that's just equally as good as them.
It's coming.
I know it's coming. It's going to come there. But I just got to get through this phase of it. But it was good to see it. And then the Miz is very funny how he's the one that's talking all this trash, and then soon he's been picking and just poking at the Shield,
right.
The Shield this last 3 weeks, and finally when they're there, you're trying to run, like literally. So
that was a good segment.
Yeah, it's like when you poke fun at a ghost, and then the ghost finally wakes up, and it's reality in front of you. Then you want to, he actually did like this, like,
right.
Like, no, please.
I don't hurt me.
So that was very funny for me.
Yeah.
But I was glad. It's good to see the Shield back. It is.
Definitely.
I don't know how long they'll be here, but we're going to soak it in as long as we have it, I'm supposing. But
yeah.
I'm not as excited as I should be, but I am still excited to see them.
That's
like, I guess actually seeing them again takes away a lot of what my complaining was, actually seeing them together, but I still feel the way I feel.
Yeah.
But it was still good to see them.
And you know what? Here's one thing which I noticed before I add this last little tidbit on this segment. Through the night, you didn't see the tag titles itself. Like, it was just more so just to truly just represent the Shield returning. And I felt like Seth and Dean having the titles on them would just give more of a dominating presence, which we already know the Shield is a dominating faction itself. Mm-hmm. But I just felt like, of course, a belt solidifies any kind of dominance.
And
for
you
any
also
segue.
know Vince McMahon doesn't want you saying belt anymore.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's
Championship titles.
Supposed to say title now.
I don't understand that.
They have their verbiage of how they want their brand or their,
like CM Punk.
Yeah,
you can't say it.
well, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Go ahead.
But the only issue I have with this now,
okay,
and I brought it up a little bit at Hell in the Cell, is the fact that all the major titles on Raw is tied up in one feud right now.
It is.
You got obviously Universal is somewhere wherever Brock Lesnar is, wherever he goes when he goes away in his man cave or whatever. Him and Paul Heyman shining up the Universal Championship for when it comes back.
Right.
Miz is the Intercontinental Champion. That title's not going to be defended at TLC.
It's not.
Ambrose and Rollins Tag Team Champions. Not going to be defended at TLC.
Here's an idea.
And I just feel like, so you mean to tell me we're going to go all the way through TLC with no championship being defended?
But here's an idea. What if, we have...
Isn't that what wrestling's about, championship?
But we have one more week, and I feel like this should happen. What if they do? Because Miz has a title on his side. The Shield has the tag titles on their side. Kurt Angle says the winner of the side holds all the belts. I don't think they would do it, but I think that would be good. Because it is a TLC match, so the title's going to be up at the top of the ladder. Something has to be at the top for it to be a TLC match. So... which you'll know later on in the segment. I jumped the gun.
You good.
But what I did want to say before we leave this part is something that I saw all over the internet once the Shield reunited. Even before, the week before that, people were predicting the reunion for this week's Monday Night Raw, is that Indy, the place where they hosted Raw this week, was the place that they debuted the Shield, was the place that that Self broke up the Shield, and now is the place where they reunited as the Shield. So for, as much as we criticize WWE's booking and creative, they have some idea. They have some ideas. Notice I'm not saying they have great ideas. They have a lot of ideas. They have some ideas. I think that was actually pretty interesting to realize, like, the Shield's true key parts of history is in one arena, literally.
I like it. I guess I can give them some credit on that.
That's all.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, not a lot, but you can give them that. So the next match, this is a quick match. Jason Jordan, Carl Anderson with Luke Gallows at the side. Of course, Jason Jordan doing his thing. I'm noticing the crowd starting to like him more now. The crowd starting to actually respond to some of his stuff more than usual. Like, it was non-existent when he first got there. It was to the point of boos when he first started coming in and wrestling, because they felt like he was another push that nobody wanted. But now that he's actually working the lower card, the mid, I can't say Carl Anderson. The Gallows and Anderson are low card, but them being singles is kind of low card performance sometimes, or mid card, I guess. So they've actually popped for him a little bit more than usual. Carl Anderson, which I think I said this at the Hell in the Cell, has one of the best spine busters, and he did that again, and it was just awesome. Throughout this match, Luke distracts, and of course, Carl decides to take out the knee and whatever, and Jason tries to come back. Luke distracts again, but this time, Jason knocks him off the ropes, avoids Carl's attack from the back, and then finishing with this German pop to like a neck back breaker for the win, and then he dips out before Luke Gallows gets in the ring. So I thought this was a pretty decent match for me. As much as I go in and out of how I feel. How do you feel about it, D? How do you feel? What mood does this put you in? Just don't care.
Just
you just in the void right now.
Just there. I mean, what were they fighting for?
I mean, but they have been going back and forth. What's the newly acquired Matt and Jason against the Gallows and Anderson? So I mean, that is a feud. It's not a feud, but that is something that we've seen consistently. So I mean,
just like we see Titus O'Deal and
oh my gosh,
Elias. We've seen that too. And
I don't want to get on that.
That hasn't done anything.
Before we get to that segment, their purpose right now puts me in a bad mood. It's embarrassing. And that's actually the next thing we're about to get into. But before we get to that match, they have Kurt Angle going backstage to look at Miz having ice on him, and Curtis Axel trying to baby him and all this stuff. And so Kurt, of course, the Miz is like, what are you going to do to these savages now? After he talked all this trash, he wants Kurt to do some discipline, and he's like, no. You guys are going to be in the main event at Tables, Ladders, and Chairs match. The new It Bar, I guess. I've seen people say it on social media because, he was the It Factor, the Miz, and Sheamus and Cesaro are the bar, so now it's the It Bar.
No.
I thought that was creative. No. So, all right. Put you in a bad mood. All right, so Chivaro and the Miz, I guess we'll say that. Because they're not the Miz Taraj. They're definitely like the Miz security, if anything. Versus The Shield. The revamped, better than ever, already got new t-shirts Shield. So, now we can get back to Raw. So, the next match is just... I don't know if I can press this enough.
Okay.
One more.
You gotta break it.
So, this was Elias Sampson versus Apollo Crews. Again, now the only thing different that is creative to this to me was Elias always comes out trying to play a song, and for once it was funny because he was like, you know what, you sound like you don't want me to play. The crowd reacts like that. Yeah, he's like, no, I'm just kidding. I like hearing my own voice, and that was funny. But then he gets drawn out by someone else playing a guitar, playing an instrument, but really bad, and it was Titus O'Neil coming out with the banjo, making a song for Elias. And I thought that was a pretty funny little promo slot. But then we get to the actual match. And it started to feel like it was like a refresher of this little feud that they have. And then I watched the process of the match. And then it turned into the exact same match that we've seen for 4 to 5 weeks since the pay-per-view. Actually, it's been the exact same match format. They go back and forth. Apollo rallies. Elias somehow gets out of the ring, comes back in, and Elias gets the advantage and wins. It's been the same exact format. For over a month, we've seen the exact same processed match. The only difference is 1 week it was Titus O'Neil. The only difference. That is... Stop. Just stop. It's just...
I really don't have words for it.
It just puts me in such a bad mood. Like... Okay, I'm sorry, because I really could just do that for another 2 minutes. Oh gosh. Next we have Enzo Amore hitting a promo saying that he's upset with Kurt for adding Kalisto. Felt like he went against the contract, and he wants him to explain himself. And he gets mad, and Kurt should be thanking him for making the cruiserweight division as relevant as it is now. And Kurt decides that, instead, how about I make a championship match tonight instead of waiting for TLC? But Enzo says that it has to be in the main event. Has to be. They shake on it. Then before Kurt walks up the ramp and out of sight, he turns back and says that, this match with Kalisto is going to be a lumberjack match, which means every cruiserweight in the division that you've pissed off is going to be outside the ring during your match. And so, saw Enzo have a little temper tantrum or whatever. And that's pretty much it. Do you have anything to say for that little segment?
I mean, it was funny how Enzo just comes out and talking about the loser weights, and
that was a good point.
He was like, "Kurt, you got some splaining to do." He was just trying to say like, how do you thank them? When he said thank you to the crowd, and they saying you suck.
Yeah,
like, why do you thank them for saying that?
Which is true. That bothers me.
Yeah, he feeds off it. He's like,
because he can't get rid of it.
He's just sitting there like, yeah, you suck. Duh, duh.
I feel so bad about it. It's like, but y'all like him. Y'all are so stupid right now.
Suck.
Like,
you suck.
That's like me seeing my wife every day and be like, I hate you. I hate you right now. Okay, honey, bye. Like, it's really stupid to me.
So they went back over the reiterated charges of the contract, the changes of the contract or whatever. And it's just like, well, if Kalisto was in the, cruiserweight division or whatever, now he should have been up under that clause too. And then Kurt Angle was like, I signed him after. Yeah. So basically, you only had one person in the cruiserweight division that had free reign to Enzo, and that was Kalisto, which he didn't know.
Right.
But other than that, I mean, Enzo lobbied for the main event match. It's like, hey, if I have to defend it tonight, then it has to be in the main event. I did like the idea of the lumberjack match. Hadn't seen one of those in a very long time.
Yeah.
Back in the old day wrestling, back in the day when you get thrown outside the ring, sometimes the lumberjacks will throw you back in.
Yeah.
And then sometimes they'll beat you up while you're on the outside for a little while, and they'll roll you back in after they get a little sneak hit on you or whatever. And then given the fact how he's talked so much trash about the cruiserweights, I like the logic with the lumberjack match. So that made a lot of sense. Finally, they did something there that made a lot of sense to me.
Yeah. And, well, we'll get to it when that match comes. I found something out. I haven't really been able to dip that far into it yet. But, like I said, I'll get to it when we get back to this cruiserweight match that's set for the main event tonight. So, the next match is Braun Strowman versus Matt Hardy. And Matt actually looked better than what I thought. I really thought this was going to be a pretty convincing, dominant performance. But then Matt starts to hit at some stuff, even though Braun did flip him when he tried to do a side effect. Braun was he was still in control.
Yeah, he had a nice tornado DDT on it too.
That's what I wanted to say.
I didn't mean to take that from you, but I had to throw that out there, man. That was a beautiful DDT.
Yeah, it really was. He definitely executed it, and then hit the twist of fate.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I mean, of course, it's Braun Strowman. So, just when Matt thinks he still has momentum, of course, Braun just becomes Braun, and he finally gets that running power slam. And
like we were talking yesterday, it just don't seem like you man is just stiff in the ring. It's just like know how we were saying yesterday, like how Strowman takes somebody and tosses them. And he just stays still in the air. Like
if it's Seth or anybody else, you can see them in the air for a little while.
Yeah, they sell it really well. Matt is just even when he runs, it's like he's mustering up all the strength he has to run really and move it just looks like very plain.
Yeah, you can see his age in this match. You saw his age just by how the lack of being able to sell Braun Strowman, because he couldn't jump, he couldn't fly across the ring. He just stumbled. It just really looked like he stumbled. It didn't look like, oh, Braun threw him across. It was just like he pushed him and Matt couldn't keep his balance. It
just looked really. He looks really stiff.
Yeah. Hey, but do you want to say what happened next though?
So after the match, Mr. Strowman proceeds to continue to attack Mr. Matt Hardy. And he's trying to get him and attack him. I think he's walking him up the ramp at this point. And then
they don't have the music yet.
No music comes on, but then next thing you know, you see these three men walk out. The Shield standing right in front of Braun Strowman in a stare down. And that made my night, if anything. Just to see Strowman there and all three of them just standing there looking at him like,
And it's funny, it added into that extra story. Like, I didn't really think they was going to play that story.
Now it tells you why they had. Remember how you asked that question last week? Why are they fighting
Braun Strowman?
Yeah, now it makes sense.
Yep.
And they just stand there looking at him, and then they just go in for
Braun.
But how Braun just
Reigns, that was so.
How he just grabbed Reigns in the middle and just took him like, I don't care about y'all two.
Right.
I want him.
I'm gonna take out the main one.
He just picked him up, lifted him all the way up to the LED board, and pushed him up against it. And you got Seth and Dean just hit like to no avail.
Like, leave my brother alone. Like, that's how they look.
And he just turns around, knocks one down, knocks the other one down. But in that space, gave him Roman enough time to regroup and come in with the big spear.
Yeah.
And that was pretty much the equalizer. And then they pretty much...
Then they acted like true shields, started doing the kicking
and everything.
And then ended it off with the patented three-way power bomb.
And the way Braun went through the table.
Yeah.
Like, man, that was huge to get that man of that size up in the air like that. And then when they power bombed him through the announce table... Did you just see how he just casually rolled off to the side? So at that point, I liked how they did that because you get the fact how Strowman has just been this guy and all the history he has with Roman.
Right.
And then, the past couple of weeks with Seth and Dean and how that's been going. So now all of them have their own beef with him.
Yeah.
And I guess for the fact of how, it was. I wonder whose idea was that to go out there to get Braun. Like, I wonder if they're sitting in the back, like, you know what? Let's go out there.
He has beat both of us.
Yeah. Like, you know what? Let's put him to shame right now. Let's show him he hadn't felt he wasn't around when we were around to know who we were. So let's show him what we're all about. And I like the idea of how they did that.
Did you know? And I've been seeing more little pictures of it that Braun Strowman was a part of. Do you remember Adam Rose? In the Rosebuds, and he had that little dancing train whenever he came out to wrestle. He was a part of it. Somebody was showing pictures whenever they were carrying him off, you could see his face. And,
I didn't know that.
I didn't know it either. I thought that was very interesting to see that. So I thought that was funny for me.
Cool. But, I mean, I didn't know that. That's a fun fact there.
Yeah.
But yeah, the announce table, the shield bomb through the announce table was huge, and then how they do the little shield bump, the fist or whatever. I do like the shirts. I'm really liking the shirts too.
Gotta get one, man.
But I still want them to get back in the old Shield clothes though.
Oh yeah, the whole militant performance.
I want to get them back in the combat boots and the black vest, and
they might do that TLC
with the pockets and all that. I want to see them go back to that. Then it'll be fully the Shield transformed to the way it should.
I like that. So, you want to get into what's next?
Next I have down, I don't know if this happened first or this happened afterward, but we can still tie it in.
Okay.
Mickie James comes down to the ring.
Oh, yeah, that's next.
And she comes down and, she's talking on the mic and just, talking about some of the stuff, that Alexa Bliss has been saying. I know she threw out something about get up out your booster seat and put your big girl pants on, and just talking about that she wants to be the 7-time, women's champion and all this. And then Alexa Bliss comes out, and she's saying dumb stuff like, "Isn't it past your bedtime, Grandma?" And
and showed the video, the vintage career. The
vintage thing with the whole thing with the superstars of yesteryear. And, just showing that she's old and how long she's been around and all that.
A senior citizen.
Yeah. And then I thought the crowd really fed off when she said, "You bring your biscuit butt down here," or something.
That
stop.
Was really...
And everybody's like, "Biscuit butt."
Yeah.
And she's like, no, you cannot say that. Like, see what you've done?
Right.
So I didn't actually think that Bliss would go down to the ring.
Yeah, I mean,
but she did. I didn't think she would. I think she pretended that she was going to come. And then she tried to turn around, and then she didn't expect Mickie James to
came down and got that little
grabbed her and pulled her in there. And then they had a couple little altercation there, and then
Bliss finally rolls out.
Yeah, Bliss rolls out. Mickie James got the best of her, and Bliss rolls out, and leading to this championship match between these two at TLC. So I'm glad it's a one person.
Yeah, one-on-one now.
One-on-one finally, but
hold on, I thought about this too. Asuka comes back at TLC, right? Well, Asuka appears.
There's gonna be a match.
Yeah, I know. It's gonna be her, and we'll get to that. So
let's just go ahead and get into it.
Yeah, so we can.
And for you who's followed Sports Moods and has been listening to our podcast, ladies and gentlemen, you know how I get when it's just all these people in one match. It never ceases to amaze me. I think this year alone we've seen about 10 fatal 5-ways or fatal 4-ways. Like literally, it's like that's their greatest thing. So when it comes around to another pay-per-view, let's figure out who's going to earn the right to do this, or let's figure out who's going to earn the right to face this champion. I know what. Let's do a fatal 5-way. All of you fight each other and determine who's going to win. I hate multi-person matches. Especially when you're just throwing them together.
Right. And so what he's going on about before we get to the match itself, it starts with Bayley and Sasha in the back with Kurt Angle, and they all looking at, I think, the Asuka promo, and they're all talking about who they want to be in a debut match against Asuka. Then Alicia Fox comes out, then Dana Brooke comes out, and she makes a good joke, and she's like, sometimes I feel like I don't exist up here because you're not up there. You're really not up there.
That's why you don't exist.
Love you to death. You're not up there. And then Emma comes out, of course. All of these girls wanting to be in the match, and Kurt Angle says, D. Moody's favorite words, it's fatal 5-way match to see who will face Asuka at TLC. And that's what we lead into after a throwaway cruiserweight match between Cedric Alexander and Mustafa Ali versus the Brian Kendrick and Jack Gallagher, which I need to watch 205 because I'm shocked to see Jack Gallagher a heel. Like,
yeah,
when
he's wrestling in regular clothes.
Yeah, that did. When I saw it, I thought it was a one-on-one.
Why is he so dressed up and he's in the ring wrestling?
I really thought it was just a one-on-one, and then he stayed on the ringside and got tagged in, and I was like, why? I don't get it. But yeah, that was it was just to get past this. It was a good kind of consistent match. 205 the cruiserweight division itself always finds a good way to flow moves together in between however many people are in the ring. So I do like that about the cruiserweight division. I still don't know why Jack Gallagher was in a full suit with looked like church shoes and looked like he was sliding a couple of times because of it. But that being said, the match felt rushed to me.
Filler.
Yeah, it was a filler. And then the last couple of moves seemed like it was botched. It looked like it flowed. It looked like it was executed. But looking at Brian Kendrick's reaction to it, like it looked like some of them were kind of botched. And so, but in the end, Jack Gallagher and Brian Kendrick took the W. And that's what that was.
Yeah, they did. And they had some good spots in that match where they did some really good stuff in that match. But again, we know it's filler. It's a cruiserweight. It's just to pass the time. Then after that happened, did we get down into Bray Wyatt or did we do the Fatal 5-way?
Well, even before Finn Balor, because that's before the Fatal 5-way, The Miz goes back to Kurt Angle.
Oh yeah.
To say that he feel like he deserves another partner to face the Shield, and he was like, who are you going to possibly get? And
then I like the way he played Kurt Angle because what was it? The 3 eyes, and one of them was integrity.
Oh yeah, he was
Aren't you going to hold Dean Ambrose to what he said? We'll face 4 or 5 or 6.
That's how they got to it because they said that they'll fight. The Shield had a promo earlier saying that it doesn't matter how many people, they'll fight whoever. And so the Miz took advantage of that and went to Kurt Angle and said, well, since he said that, let's add one more. And Kurt was like, well, it's supposed to be 3. And he was like, isn't one of your eyes integrity, Kurt Kurt Angle, and so he persuaded Kurt, and it showed up to be a very pissed off Braun Strowman.
I love how the door he kicked the door open, and it's just like he comes up to Kurt Angle, he's just
stares at him and then just angrily walks off, and it's like, now Braun Strowman is added to this 3-on-3 match, and now 4-on-3 Shield versus the Miz Empire, I'm gonna call it now. And
I love what Booker T said once he found that out. He was like, "Oh man," he was like, "Strowman is the X factor, and somebody's going to get hurt." Yeah, somebody's like, "That's all I got to say. Somebody's going to get hurt."
Somebody's going to get hurt, right?
Yeah.
And so now we get into the Finn and Bray Wyatt.
Yeah, Finn and Bray Wyatt. So obviously, last week we know Bray Wyatt revealed to us that Sister Abigail is still alive, and Finn Balor would meet her this week or hear from her this week. Yeah.
Sister Abigail.
And it was very funny because when Finn Balor comes out, he's just walking around the ring. He was like, "Sister Abigail." He said, I just don't know what to say anymore. And I was like, I don't either, Finn. Like, I'm tired of seeing this. I don't know what to say either.
No, man, not a bad mood. But I told you, the only way that's going to keep this feud alive is for him to present a new character of himself.
And it's just like, he's like, I don't know what to say anymore. Like, I mean, I'm like, me either, Finn. And he's like, bring the whole family. Like, whatever you want to do. Like, I want to see who this Sister Abigail person is. Bray Wyatt. I mean, let's just see. Basically, Finn's like, okay, what is it? Like, show me already.
I'm not afraid.
I'm not afraid. Whoever it is or whatever it is, just show me. And then Bray's sitting in his chair, and he's rocking back and forth, and he's talking, and Sister Abigail's alive, man.
Yeah.
And then he's sitting there laughing. He kissed me out. Like, how can you just? I know people can fake laugh. But his fake laughs are literally like he's laughing at something hard down, like a joke somebody said. He's just sitting there like laughing. Like,
I think his fake laugh makes him really laugh. Like,
because he's just sitting there, he goes into like a 15-second laugh. And it's just like, dude, like you actually sound like you're laughing, but you're just making it up.
Right.
And then all of a sudden you start to see the screen like
mold
changing, and then you see all this hair hanging in front of his face, and it's like this auto-tuned voice.
Right. It's just two voices now with a whole bunch of black under his eye, around his eyes. And to me, it looked like one of those, you know how like old, back in the day, kind of classic movies when somebody had a funeral, the women had a veil over their face. Mm-hmm. That's what I felt it was. Mm-hmm. So.
And then basically some of the stuff I wrote down from it, the witch is upon you.
The season of the witch is upon you.
The season of the witch is upon you.
Oh man, that actually was pretty good to me. That was
she's here, and then I can turn a demon into a dandelion, and I'm nothing like you've read in your little, Irish mythology books, and. And Finn is just listening to it, and he's just like, after it's all said and done, and, she reveals herself, he's just sitting there like, he's stunned, and they interview him later that night and talking about it, and he was just like, hey, I've never seen anything like that before. I've never, he was it looked like it kind of affected him.
Right. He looked like he was he recognized the threat now. Like,
okay, this is serious. Like, I need to take this a little bit more serious than what I was.
But then he says, but I know what I have to do.
Yeah.
So I feel like he's going to add something to his Demon King outfit. Like, I feel like it's going to be something dramatic. Like, I don't feel like we're going to get like a Ty Dillinger high neck kind of vest coming out. But it's going to be something dramatic added to his Finn Balor persona Sunday. Or I feel like maybe what I hope they do, because I notice like sometimes in the pay-per-views they don't have the encounters like they used to do. I hope this is one where they actually have an encounter where you see Finn. Maybe Finn's on the Titatron starting out, and then he comes out as the Demon King, and Bray already is out as Sister Abigail, or vice versa. But I do want to see both of them physically before the pay-per-view. I don't want it to be just like a cliffhanger between the men.
I don't want to see him physically before the pay-per-view because it just leads to the build of what Bray Wyatt's going to come out at.
I guess.
And then his music, waiting on his music to hit, and you're just sitting there like...
I feel like it has to be a new music.
He may have different music.
I hope so.
It may be something different. You know, Bray's, he gets creative because we saw at WrestleMania how with Randy Orton, how the ring was shows of different, like the little worms crawling and stuff. So Bray's creative when it comes to stuff. So I'm pretty sure
I hope so.
He'll have something weird.
Yeah, because for me, his original music it's ominous, definitely, but it's just to me like it's just like a wandering spirit kind of situation. It's just so I feel like for him to be this Sister Abigail, it has to be more of like a treacherous, dark, real dark.
For years to come.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it looks like this Sister Abigail character is going to be something serious, and it appears to have affected Finn Balor in some kind of way.
Yeah.
So he's a little bit. I don't think he fears it. I think he knows that. Okay, this is going to be a battle. Whenever I come face to face, 1-on-1 with this entity of Bray Wyatt, it's going to be a lot to deal with.
Yeah.
And then the Fatal 5-Way.
Your favorite part of the night?
Mine just... God, can they just stop already, please?
No, man.
The year of the Fatal 5-Way.
No, man. Just let it...
The year
let it go,
of the Fatal 4-Way. The year of the 6-pack challenge.
That's the weirdest one for me.
Please stop, WWE. So, I'm going to jump into this.
Go ahead.
And I'm going to let you spiel on it. But the funniest part to me of this match...
I think I know what you're about to say.
When I guess, who wasn't got pinned first?
Who did get pinned first?
Bailey, wasn't it?
Yep, Bailey gets eliminated
first. And Michael Cole's like, oh, I didn't know it was I didn't know it was an elimination match. Oh.
Right. It's
like, this tells you because I guess most of the Fatal 5-Ways I've seen a lot of them in my day, this year alone. But
they turn out.
If it's for a championship, most of the time, it's not an elimination. It's just whoever gets the first pinfall.
I thought that's the purpose of the fatal part.
Yeah, me too. But I don't know if Angle... I don't remember him saying elimination,
he did.
Fatal 5-Way elimination match.
He did. To
see who's going to face Asuka. But in most Fatal 5-Ways, it's whoever gains the first pinfall, then they get the win.
But you know what? Here's why I know they turned it to elimination. Because when I realized that they made a Fatal 5-Way for it, like I said before, they're not going to put Bailey and Sasha first against Asuka.
No, you called it though. You did. I got to give it to you on that.
So when I saw it and they pinned Bailey first, I was like, okay, I know Bailey nor Sasha is gonna make it. Like, now whoever it was, like you said, I did pick the right person, but I was like, whoever it was is going to be between the Dana, Alicia, or Emma, which I already thought was going to be Emma first anyway. But I knew that's why they made it the elimination, because for these three undercards to be able to beat, like you say, whoever the winner is going to be, I'm not going to try. I'm going to want us to go through the actual thing before we reveal it. But I mean, for any of these three, Emma, Alicia Fox, Dana Brooke, to beat a Sasha Banks, to beat a Bailey, knowing that this is like a mid card with high card people in it, would be unlikely to do, especially for a Fatal 5-Way, unless they do one of those patented Bailey hits a special on somebody and then they push her out the ring and do a roll up. That could have been the only way to make a Fatal 5-Way work for it just being a one pinfall. Mm-hmm. But they had to make it an elimination because, like I said, they weren't going to put these two. Like, I knew that way before that those two weren't going to be the first to face Asuka. But go ahead and get into the match itself after pinning Bailey.
Yeah, and then I think Dana Brooke was the next to go, and then it came down to Alicia Fox, Sasha.
No, as a matter of fact, Dana was the first.
Yeah, Dana was the first one to get eliminated. Then Bailey.
Yeah.
So it was funny because like Michael Cole was like, oh, because when the bell rang, like it caught him off guard. He was like, oh, I didn't know it was an elimination match.
And that's exactly
He's
what
like,
I wrote.
Apparently, it's an elimination match. So.
That's exactly what I wrote. I wrote, apparently it's an elimination match.
So you would think they would know beforehand, but anyway, I mean, this is an epic fail there. For
Definitely.
WWE. Just for that fact alone, retire the Fatal 5-Way for the rest of the year. I don't want to see another one until next year.
And going on before Dana, like her being eliminated, Dana looked really rusty. Like a lot of her moves looked really poor. And somebody actually did a slow-mo on a suplex she did on Bailey, and her hand is literally, you know how most people, when you try to execute a safe suplex, and this was the one that I'm talking about she botched, it's usually like wrapped around her butt, going up her back to kind of just make sure that when they pick her over that they fall safely. Her hand was literally right in the middle of her private area. So that's why Bailey just immediately kind of just failed, like just dead weight fell off the side. Like, whoa, wrong button. Like, so when I saw that, I was like, yep. Yeah, they need to put Dana back in some matches. She's not practicing outside of this. Like,
that's what you get when you really see people. You don't use them.
Yeah.
They have ring rust. So.
Definite ring rust. So, I mean, but like I said, Dana's eliminated first.
You got to show me that.
I got to. I have to show you the picture of it. Alicia... Oh, go ahead.
Well, go ahead.
No, I was about to say Alicia Fox, like she said, he knocked Sasha into Bailey, then hits Bailey with her, I guess, axe kick, reminiscent of Booker T.
kind of like, yeah.
And hits the pin. That's when Bailey's eliminated. Then Emma and Alicia jump on Sasha now. So, but then Emma tries to turn on Alicia and tries to pin her up, but then they start going at it. You sound like you wanted to add something to that.
Oh, yeah. And then Alicia Fox just coming from obscurity is out of nowhere.
Out of nowhere. Randy Orton.
Just pull her from out of nowhere. She's here. And how it ended, I guess, didn't they roll up Sasha? Or how did it go?
Well,
because I just, like I said, once it's the Fatal 5-Way, I was just like, you know what, I don't care. Like, I was watching it, but I wasn't watching it.
But yeah, Sasha first, in the midst of Emma and Alicia going back and forth, Sasha starts to drop kick both of them, gets her momentum, and then she knocks Alicia into Emma, and then hits Alicia Fox with the backstabber, and then to her bank statement made her tap out, and she's eliminated. And then from there, Emma rolls up immediately, Sasha Banks, and then she's eliminated. And then Emma wins, which, like I said, I called, and so she's going to be the first person sacrificed to Asuka at TLC. Yep, I can't wait to see.
And it was so funny after the match how Corey Graves was like, yeah, it's going to be hashtag RIP Emma.
Exactly. That's exactly what it has to be. It has to be no less than, if it's going to be near 5 minutes or longer, it's going to have to be because Asuka just wants to toy and look Braun Strowman-esque against Emma. So,
but I have one question. Where was Nia tonight?
Good question. That's a very good
Where's
question.
Nia Jax?
No idea.
She doesn't deserve to contend to face Asuka first, even though we know she probably wouldn't.
I think that was, which is another reason why they couldn't have, because for anyone to beat Nia, unless they did something where Bailey did a Bailey bomb on Nia, and then Sasha quickly hit the bank statement and made her tap, it would have been hard to play in and play out Nia Jax in this.
I just have all of them gang up on her.
That's true. They've done that before. I think I remember a time where they had a multi-woman match and all of them laid on top of Nia to eliminate her. So I do remember that. And they could have done that again, but I guess they
could. But I mean, that's just a question I had. I mean, I didn't see Nia, so
yeah.
But I mean, Emma wins, so
yeah.
Emma's all about headlines and social media
feel
tweets
bad
and
for
stuff.
Emma, man.
But I don't think shouldn't have a chance against Asuka. Asuka's gonna make her wish she never would have won that match.
Never was born.
Yeah,
it should be so bad that Emma should not be on the show for a while anymore. That's how bad I want this first match to be. Like, for them to present Asuka as she's done, and then considering her undefeated streak at NXT. I mean, considering that, I mean, the WWE versus NXT is like from going college pro to NFL. So, of course, the people that should be on WWE, Raw, and SmackDown should be a top-tier caliber. I mean, it should be. That's how we make it look.
You said it's for, what was your analogy again?
Like NFL to college sports. It should be like that. I'm just saying, just how they make NXT like a college, a developmental.
It's like college football to Pee-wee football. Because when they get the big stars on the main roster, the WWE doesn't do nearly what they should.
That's true. But
it's a big platform.
I'm saying what it should be.
They just bury these people.
What it should be, though. That's all.
Should be. Should is the operative word there. Should.
It is. So,
but well, I guess we can just get off this because I mean it's
not getting any better.
Oscar's gonna eat her for lunch, breakfast, and dinner, and pretty much we get to the main event. You ready to go ahead and hit it?
Let's go.
Main event: Enzo Amore, cruiserweight champion, taking on Kalisto Lucha. This is a very important day for Kalisto, showing his paying homage to Eddie Guerrero. That being
would have been his 50th birthday.
His 50th birthday.
He would have been 50.
He would have been 50 years old on Monday night, and Kalisto really wanted to dedicate, to show homage to Eddie Guerrero,
right,
going out there winning the cruiserweight title,
which I thought was a good. I think that was a good. Let's finish the match.
Yeah, I thought
before I start doing any spoilers.
I thought it was, and with that being the rule, the stipulation being a lumberjack match, I mean, it lived up to everything it was supposed to be.
Yeah,
and it was just a good back and forth match. It's actually a pretty good match.
It actually really was. I actually was surprised at Enzo's wrestling and resilience to it.
Yeah,
so.
And I thought one time Enzo had it.
Yeah, I really did. Yeah. Especially when he did his little special where he holds the arm and
the
falls back with the leg on his face. Mm-hmm. I actually really like that special because it's something we've never seen before.
Yeah,
so I really like it.
And I said, Enzo might retain, and then.
And so what's funny is for me, Enzo during this match he keeps trying to throw Kalisto out so he can either get some time or want somebody to hit a Kalisto. But for a while nothing happened. It was actually throughout the match nothing happened. You had some people that wanted to attack. I think maybe Jack Gallagher and Brian Kendrick got a hold of him one time, but the rest of the cruiserweight went against it and just pushed him back in the ring. And it was even one part where when they threw him out of the ring, Mustafa Ali himself held him up and pushed him back. And then that's when Enzo was really upset with, Mustafa Ali. And when he did his little special move on Kalisto, he tried to pin
Mustafa.
Mustafa pulled him out. Mm-hmm. So, but before that, I know I kind of jumped ahead of myself. What happened? Oh, they all started fighting it outside the ring. The cruiserweight division just all started battling each other. And while this went on, Enzo was on the top rope. Kalisto jumps up to meet him and does like the avalanche superplex on top of the entire cruiserweight division. I thought that was amazing for me.
Mm-hmm. It was. I like the ending of the match, like that move Kalisto hit at the end. I'm not sure what the name of it is.
Oh, the Selena Del Sol.
Yes.
I love that move. That's a beautiful move.
That's a nice way to say it. A nice name for the move too.
Yeah.
Selena Del Sol, and the move matches the
right.
It's like a long finisher.
Yeah.
Because you got to flip over and then he catches you.
Then there's the suspense of just.
He hit it on Enzo. Enzo was done. Like over. It's over. The title reign is over. I'm pretty sure the cruiserweights are happy now. All of them are reinstated, I guess.
Right. They can all compete now.
But now, obviously, rematch clause. So we're probably going to see this again.
TLC.
At TLC. But I mean, go ahead.
Go ahead. Finish it.
You're good.
No, all I was gonna say is, like I was saying earlier, because of the fact that it was for the homage being paid to Eddie Guerrero's birthday, that I think that was WWE's creative's way of giving him that win, because Eddie Guerrero was definitely a staple of a wrestler into the WWE. But because of the rematch clause, and I feel like the rematch clause is going to be set for TLC. I don't know if they're going to keep it on Kalisto. I really feel like they're going to give it back.
Give it back to Enzo because what he's doing with it and the exposure he's giving it.
Yeah, and then I saw when Rey Mysterio, which is another person he mentioned when he was talking about his homage being paid to Eddie Guerrero, he posted on Instagram about the same thing, saying, honoring Eddie Guerrero. But he was saying this was also the first time a Cruiserweight Championship match was held during a main event.
Yeah,
so
awesome, yeah.
It was a lot of stuff being good. And for the fact that, like you said, Enzo is right on a lot when he talks about making the Cruiserweight division relevant on Monday Night Raw. So for him to make it relevant, they can't take it off of him right now. And I mean, they did it for this homage for Eddie Guerrero, but I agree they're going to give it back to him. But here's a kicker to me, which I thought was funny. Wrestle Talk TV mentioned this. It's like, even though in one aspect of it, we have, like I said, Enzo Amore putting cruiserweights in the main event, what we call main event because it's the last part of the show. But they feel as though WWE Creative is only making 2 hours worth of the actual show. And then the rest of the show is kind of just the throwaways. And I mean, if you think about it, it's really just the last hour is just the Fatal 5-Way and this cruiserweight part. But even before last week was just kind of a situation where it was fillers and maybe a women's match then. So, I mean, I don't necessarily agree with it totally, but in a sense, if they really are doing this whole throwaway of the third hour, just making it filler, it kind of goes back into this whole thing on punishing Enzo, but they can't get rid of him because of how much he pulls into the WWE with merchandise and everything else that he has, his charisma. So it's like a kind of a win-win in a situation. They give Enzo what he wants, but they don't have to worry about him interfering with the most important part that they feel, if they really are just setting 2 hours of this 3-hour show now. So that's just the idea that Wrestle Talk TV gave, and I thought that made sense. I don't know how true it is. I still feel like Raw is a pretty good show throughout on some days. Like this week to me was a good show throughout for me. Even the Fatal 5-Way, but
it was okay. What really made Raw for me, and I guess I'll go ahead and get into what I thought the rating for Monday Night Raw was. I was really excited to see the Shield back. Still feel some kind of way about how. As long as we can keep them together long enough to battle the club, I'm cool. As long as I get that.
As long as you get that. I hope you get that. Because I want it too.
Yeah, as long as I get that, I'm fine.
But I want
you
to
bring them back just to come back to fight Miz and Strowman and the rest of them, Sheamus and Cesaro, then it's just like, well, if I feel like the Shield should at least stay together long enough to fight the club.
And you know what? Still giving you what your rating is going to be, reviewing it. But I thought about the only other 3-man faction that I know throughout the whole WWE is on NXT, and it's not really a 3-man faction. It's really just 2 with somebody like being a manager for them. But I just feel like their presence, they're pretty big. It's like 2 real big guys that also come in militant outfits, and they're called the Authors of Pain.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
I think that they, even though they're not a 3-man, because like I said, their third person is just like an old manager for them. But I like their size, and they remind me of the Shield just by what they wear, their attire, despite them being like really big guys. But I feel like even though they're 2 big guys and it's 2 versus 3, that would be a good match to see before we get to the club thing, and that would be a good way to bring them into the main roster as well.
Could be a way that they do that. I'm just anxious to see what they're going to do with them after this.
Yeah.
But I mean, with the Shield coming back and the whole thing with Strowman throwing him through the table, which was pretty good. The Cruiserweight match wasn't bad. Other than that, the Fatal 5-Way, I don't really care for all the women in one match, just because of the fact of the quality of the match goes down when you have multiple people like that,
especially when they're all nighters congruent together.
Yeah. You're right. And then you were talking about how she botched it and all that. So, my rating for Raw.
Give it one more time.
This week 5 out of 10.
5 out of 10. Oh my gosh,
and
man.
the 5 points came from
the Shield.
4.5 of it came from the Shield. And the other 0.5 was the Cruiserweight match. And
that's it.
Yeah. It was like sure. The Shield really made it. They made the show.
Yeah, they did.
Then the other part, I did like the Enzo Kalisto match. It was okay. And, the whole Bray Wyatt Balor thing is, I guess it's all right. Just the intrigue of knowing what Bray Wyatt's going to be. So, but for me, it's just Shield. And then after there's no more Shields for the rest of the night, it was just like, oh, it's Monday Night Raw. Typical.
Now, back to Monday Night Raw. So that's how you feel about it. 5 out of 10.
5 out of 10, man.
Okay.
At the most, 5.5.
Okay, at the most. So for me, my rating on it. Yep. So for me, of course, matter of fact, I'm gonna just go ahead and give the rating before I start explaining it. I'm giving, let me hit it one more time, WWE Monday Night Raw 7 out of 10. Don't shake your head, man. Let me explain myself. Of course, the main purpose of it is the Shield. Kicking it off with the Shield. And I do like, even though it's not a true faction, I do like the component of them facing Cesaro, Sheamus, and The Miz, seeing that all of them have something going on. Mm-hmm. It being Sheamus and Cesaro for the tag champs, and The Miz starting that feud with Roman. So it made sense. And then them ganging up on Braun Strowman after he beat up Dean and Seth the last couple of weeks makes sense. The reason I don't like it is because, like I said, I really can't stand this repetitive Elias Apollo Crews match. The Fatal 5-Way Women's thing I could have done without, but I understand it. And it made sense that was the only way that they could best show that Emma was going to be it, instead of just giving it to her, because that's the only other way they could have done it. The Bray Wyatt thing actually is giving it a refreshing feel on this feud now. And what I think about when I think about this feud is, how, I don't know if you watched Dragon Ball Z growing up, like how when you battled somebody, especially for the villains like Cell and Frieza, they had another form. Like it was always an extra form. So now Bray Wyatt is like the reminiscent of, hey, you now get to see my final form. So now for me, this has to be the end of it, because I don't think once you do the Sister Abigail, you don't do it again, because we already are at Bray Wyatt's final. I mean, Finn Balor's best person, his best component of him. So now once Bray shows his best components of him, which is Sister Abigail, the winner of this is the tell-all be-all. So that's how I feel. So that's why it's giving a fresh look on me, because now I truly feel like this should be the end. If they do any more after this, then I would definitely just not be pretty excited at all. Except for the fact that depending on how this Sister Abigail character looks in the process. And then of course the Cruiserweight Lumberjack match I thought was a pretty good match. I like the pops for them doing the suplex on the Cruiserweight division. They already kind of showing a segue into the next feud once I feel Enzo gets it back between him and Mustafa Ali. I also like I'm surprised about the Jack Gallagher going heel earlier, which like I said, the tag match in the Cruiserweight I love, because the Cruiserweight division itself are all flow with each other. They all know how to work and move with one another. So I always love seeing the Cruiserweight division. So that's why I give it a 7 out of 10 for all those reasons. Still too high for you? Oh man, not a bad move, man.
Yeah, Raw was, it was decent. It was decent because of the Shield. If the Shield wasn't there,
yeah,
just be Raw. There's no Universal Champion.
That's true.
There's no championship matches coming up at.
Unless they do all the titles on the line. Man. They should, though. It would be beautiful. That's the best idea, is that they put all the titles on the line in this TLC match. because now it makes it even more of a threat. Like, not only are we getting the nostalgia of having the Shield back, now it's a real stipulation. It's something on the line for this. It's not just the fact of we're back just to shut the Miz mouth about saying that the Shield wasn't good, because that's truly the purpose that brought him back. But now to put the titles on the line will make them, like I said, the titles make anybody more
climb
dominant.
up the ladder to grab all 3 belts.
Seth, because he's a high flyer.
So he's going. Here you go, Roman. Here's your Intercontinental Championship.
Well, you know they are.
He go, D nigga, your belt.
But you know now they put it on this little hanger thing now. So like, if he can just take the hanger part off, he can hold 3 titles, and then when he comes down, they can be like, it's almost like like, I don't know how to say it, kind of like an awarding Roman his Intercontinental, and now they all have a
Roman
title.
needs to pin the Miz
Boom.
for that though. It would be more meaningful to me.
But I mean, well, I guess
the Intercontinental Championship is one of those prestigious.
But if all 3 of the titles are on the line, I feel like it can only be right.
Could be.
Yeah.
Could be. But I don't think they'll go that route. That's something different that we've never seen before.
Yeah.
But
I don't think they'll go that route either. But that would be the best decision to keep the titles relevant. Like you said, because it is disappointing to see that it's pretty much going to be nothing but a women's title match on the line and the Cruiserweight Championship match
and
on
Oscar.
the line.
And
yeah, but I'm just saying, title-wise, it's only 2 matches where we should be having at least 4, despite not having the Universal Championship. That's what I'm saying. So that would be the best way to keep the titles a part of this pay-per-view. They should definitely, no pay-per-view should go without a title match. Even the Universal. I don't care if you're Brock Lesnar. I don't care if you were 4 Brock Lesnars and 1 Brock Lesnar. You should be here if you're going to be a wrestler in general. Like, I know he has other things right now, and I know he had, he's UFC. But even when Goldberg was here, he was there more than what Brock Lesnar has been when he held his little title reign, and that's from not wrestling for over 10 years. He was there and was still more relevant in weekly shows than Brock Lesnar is now. So it's disappointing for the Universal title for me. They might as well just make another title and just let Brock just stay away from me.
Bad booking is what you call it.
Yeah. And to me it's disappointing and I know they're keeping it because people are still just hyped about the essence of Brock Lesnar, which he's still a great threat and somebody, when he comes, but for him to have it, like, let him just come and fight for it, maybe take it and lose it the next night or something, something, because he shouldn't have it and be gone for 4 months. That's just my thing.
Vince, he only can do it. Vince allows him to.
So, one last thing I wanted to get on about the Cruiserweight division too before we end this. I didn't get to watch or read any of the articles, but I saw a lot of captions and thumbnails on Wrestle Talk itself saying that Neville has actually asked to leave WWE.
Wow.
And if you notice, Neville wasn't there in the Lumberjack match.
He might be getting ready to go to another wrestling program or something like that.
But he had such a great time. Like, his heel reign as
the Cruiserweight
that
was a great reign. But
I
would like to see him up in the upper echelon as well.
I mean, he definitely, him being at WWE won't put him in heavyweight contendership.
I'd rather see him go up against like the Seth Rollinses or challenge
or AJ Styles.
Yeah,
2 high
AJ
flyers
Styles
like that.
challenge the Miz for the IC title, or hey, go up against a Finn Balor, or
maybe they will push him back up because he was at the top before they made this Cruiserweight division. I guess that's what kept his relevancy. Honestly, so I mean, maybe they will.
Hope he doesn't leave. He's a good talent.
He really is. That's why I don't.
Surprised he'll be the first of many that's leaving.
Because they're not booking them right, man.
Yeah.
They really are underusing these people, and it's really just going to get down to the people they show every day, and that's going to be it. That's going to be all they have.
Yep.
It's disappointing.
Yeah, it is to lose Neville there.
So, guys, to wrap it up, that was Monday Night Raw in a nutshell. The Shield's back. Kalisto won in honor of Eddie Guerrero's birthday, which is a great win. And Emma is up to be destroyed on this next pay-per-view, TLC, which is the week after next Monday. The Sunday after next Monday. I guess I said that right. Yeah, next Monday, then the Sunday after.
Monday after next Sunday.
The Sunday after next Monday. Because Monday Night Raw is the go home show coming up. And then it's guys, I've been messing up a lot. It's really bad. So hopefully once we come back, I'll do better. So we are done with Monday Night Raw. When we come back, we will get into WWE's Tuesday night show, Smackdown Live. Then we're going to dive into in other sports. We have a lot of things to talk about. It's definitely with Jerry Jones and the NFL right now. Then we're going to end with our predictions for Week 6. Sports moves. 2 Moody's.
1 duty.
Sports. We'll be right back.